Good evening to all as we are here for the fourth and final day of the Natter Community Beta Clash. I am Rich Rad here with Kenobi, and we are so grateful to be a part of this final day to see who's going to be able to claim this community title. We've had some crazy games over the course of this weekend, now leading into the start of this week, just before the beta ends. My friend, how you doing and feeling?
I'm feeling great. I mean, right before the beta starts, and what a way to end it as well with this tournament, wrapping everything up. It's been such an amazing tournament so far. Like you mentioned, a lot of great matches. One of the, I guess, best C9s, I think I'll call it, that I've ever seen in a competitive game, but it's been an absolute bloodbath and slobber knocker, any of those metaphors you want to use for a tournament. And I can't wait to see what we have with our final three teams here. It's going to be a fantastic day to cap off an Overwatch 2 beta.
And for those who might have not seen the moment that Kenobi is referencing to, yesterday, game 1, map round 3, Lijiang Tower, Dawn Market. Yeah, got to go back and watch the ending of that one because it's for sure a doozy. But we also do have to give out a major shout out to Vite Ramen. Again, you are still a massive, massive supporter of this entirety and just continuing to help contribute directly as well, because they are allowing everything from their prize pool that has been generated here to be 100% contributed to it. You can actually continue to do so by using the exclamation point crowdfunding and put even more towards that already plus $3,000 prize pool that these individuals are playing for. So definitely use that command. Again, exclamation point crowdfunding, and you could even find some bundle packages as well that give you some amazing Vite Ramen food to, you know, settle that stomach when you're looking to have a late night snack or just keep the high protein, especially if you're looking to have a leg day or two coming up. So and we have to give, again, major shout out to them. And Kenobi, we saw yesterday, like we talked about, some great gameplay. Dora and Dryad also was able to talk a lot about this Redbird Esports squad, where we now were looking and talking about Team Burrito. And the two of them did have some similarities in part of their compositions, but one of the biggest things going into this now is how they're going to fend off against one another going into this losers final to see who can move up to face off against that team waiting in the grand finals of WISP.
And it's interesting because we get Redbird Esports, a team that we are very familiar with, you know, having casted, collegiate a long time. This is a team that we've been very familiar with in terms of that we've seen them grow significantly throughout this just year that they've had. I mean, from the start in January to like where they went to in the collegiate championships, all the way to CCEC, where they were able to, or CECC rather, where they were able to take that championship. And now going into this meta where it's a bit different, you know, it's 5v5, we have a little bit of a different scenario for them. I think one of the coolest things is kind of like how this team has matched a little bit of the style that we're seeing from Team Burrito, but do have that flexibility as well. Like there is a lot of that Winston kind of like Dallas dive composition. Redbirds does tend to seem to play a little bit more towards the Ana, which I think is definitely warranted with who they have as their, you know, player playing a flex support role. But then Team Burrito on the other side, we saw them yesterday play a lot more of this, you know, idea where they play that zombie composition and then, you know, switched up a bit. Dove came in on a Widowmaker, absolutely popped off in one map, but it wasn't enough to beat WISP.
No, it wasn't. And we can even take a look at the history of how these teams got to this point through the bracket. Again, a lot of teams working their way through up to this point and then continuing to reduce down. As you can see, Redbird Esports being knocked into that losers bracket earlier once before by WISP. So this is a redemption round for them. They get to come back and try and do this once again. But same thing with Team Burrito. Both of them are gutting and just waiting to get back into this grand finals to face off against WISP. And between these two teams, I'm actually looking forward to a really, really competitive, matchup between them, because I honestly think that their power levels are probably pretty similar between the two, since they've not really had the opportunity to face off against one another prior.
And I think one of the other things that's cool about this specific matchup is that this is now a best of 5, right? We're best of 5s all the way through from here on out, and that's really going to be good because we get to see a lot of the different map types before we go into something like a grand final, unless it is a 3-0, which I think is very unlikely given the power levels, like you mentioned, of both of these teams that we have going into this winners finals. And again, like, I think it'll be an interesting clash of styles because they both have shown that they can flex onto different things, but both have shown that they have that kind of similar style when it comes to that, Dallas dive, Winston dive composition that we've been seeing a lot kind of like take over the meta here during this tournament. So it'll be interesting to see how both of these teams kind of adapt to each other going forward throughout the entirety of this series, because it is very close.
And also really one to keep a focus on personally, because you and I both highlighted a lot when it came to Rocket and King. Same thing with Tree and Dove. And looking at this DPS lineup between Vision and Echo on this Echo has been getting some serious value. We even touched on that at the top of the broadcast yesterday. The significance of this Echo, how it's starting to work its way into more frequency and usage with the composition that's brought into this. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to fare off against Team Burrito, especially if we do get a slight sliver and just even a little bit of dub on that Widowmaker once again.
Because as well, the other thing about the Echo is that Tree is also a very prominent Echo player in their own right. They did get, I mean, yesterday against WISP, it didn't get as much value as we're used to seeing Tree get on a lot of this hero when it is the Echo. Usually they're just getting into the backline, getting those assassinations, popping off, and they did have those moments, but it wasn't like the Tree we had seen previously in the tournament. WISP did a fantastic job of kind of neutralizing the DPS a little bit, until it was that one Widowmaker game where Dove managed to pop off on that Widowmaker. But I mean, for Redbird Esports, when you look across this roster, it feels like, Echo, Visions, Gig is someone who I think has been around the block for a very long time.
Yes.
Lyre and Rupal have been a support line that has, to me, been very, very good in terms of just the way that they have progressed throughout. And I think that's like the mantra for Redbird Esports, is this team was like, remember Redbird Esports from last year where it was like the American Tornado Corps, and then they have to switch up their entirety of their roster, and now it's this roster that has been built phenomenally well from them. And I think they are one of the best teams in collegiate, certainly one of the best teams in this tournament right now, and they're definitely gunning for another tournament win to cap off an exciting first spring for them.
And that has so much to do with the recruiting dynamic of things. Again, when you have such a successful roster depart and elevate themselves to that position, and then now having to fill those gaps, and that's such a testament to Flutie and, the Redbird Esports squad in and of itself, and being able to have them compete. And the other interesting dynamic too is we did see a little bit of flexibility on the support line, only small parts of it. Moira from Rupal was able to get into the mix, having a little bit of variation, synergizing with the Lucio versus more so what we've seen typically, which is the Ana and the Lucio, or even those inklings of the Mercy that we got to see on Midtown yesterday towards that later portion in the hybrid map, which really only specifically was on that map because of the value that it brought to the composition, and also how the aerial dynamic played out.
And I think as well, when I kind of look at these two teams and their dynamics between each other, everywhere I look, like if we're just doing like a paper, like this team versus this team, like I see kind of like across the board, it is relatively even. I think there are some like instances where I think Team Burrito, I think their DPS, for instance, I think have a slight advantage with how well that I think Dove and Tree are as players. But that's not to, say anything bad about Echo or Visions, who have, again, been a duo that has really surprised me in how well that they were able to just very quickly become staples in collegiate and staples in the tier 2 scene. And I think that they've been phenomenal as well. And like across the board, I just really am interested to see the matchup that we see style-wise, composition-wise, because I think there's a lot of differentiation between what we've seen from Team Burrito, what we've seen from Redbird Esports, but also some similarities, right, in the compositions we've seen.
And, to touch on outside of just the similarities part of it, the one thing that I'm also really looking forward to, just because you and I had the chance to cast specifically Team Burrito, is this coordination and controllability and confidence that they had when it came to that third map where they did have Dove on this Widowmaker. Again, they don't have to specifically play the Widowmaker, but just all in all, when they started to get into that mentality where they were dominating a position, they were really preventing an aggression and just honestly controlling any point of entry, they felt so much better. I guarantee you their communication was much more structured as well, because every time they were giving assistance, whether it was to Dove or how they were rotating specifically for the counter engagement after coming through onto Dove, it was just so much more cohesive and fluid. And I really want to see that out the gate here for Team Burrito to try and elevate what they had from yesterday.
And specifically with the 2 DPS, like you're mentioning, Dove is one who like had that really good Widowmaker map, but also like, you know, we can't not talk about Tree, who had some really good moments in their own right. And that's one of the things that I think Team Burrito has in space, is the ability to kind of just like have a player just completely turn around a fight by themselves. You know, even Luke Mino on the support role has that ability. Rack Attack as well has that ability. Everywhere I look on the team of Team Burrito, there is a player who I'm just like, yeah, that person can like 1v5. I can't say 1v6 anymore because that's not that's the old game. But I mean, on Redbird
tweaking the brain a little bit for that.
Yeah, on Redbird Esports, it's not like it's different. Like they still have those players who are capable of that level, but I've seen it a little bit more consistently from Team Burrito during this tournament when I've been able to watch them.
And, you know, going into, once again, this map of control first, we get to start off the same way as we did yesterday, at least at the top of the broadcast, and we're going to be entering in onto Lijiang Tower again. Hopefully we won't have a revisitation to Dawn Market in the same type of light with a conclusion such as a swap as it was. But, you know, again, looking to see how that first map of control is going to lead into this, and then transitioning into that push map, which, again, realistically, Team Burrito, and even I would say Redbird Esports, when they played it, were so very confident. And that's kind of like another like checkpoint for me to look towards. Like, I know that we're of course going to want to see how the control map goes, but then once we get to this new map style, that second map, and how they're going to play against each other, because they looked so refined and so in control, because it was only a small margin that Team Burrito fell short yesterday against WISP. And I would guarantee that they're going to have just as much confidence going into the one later today.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting which one it is, because we saw Coliseo yesterday. There is some variation on how you play Coliseo towards something like the other map. I believe it's New Queen Street is what it's called, the one in Canada. But anyways, as we go over to our map set here, you can see Lijiang Tower is going to be our first map of the day. An interesting map because there is a lot of variation in terms of the compositions that you can play specifically on each of the sub-maps. Like Control Center is very different from Night Market, very different from Gardens. Like there's a lot of variation. So this will be a good kind of appetizer to different types of compositions we'll see probably throughout the rest of the series, and probably throughout the rest of the grand finals as well, depending on which one of these teams ends up going through.
As we do have the game beginning, we enter in for this losers finals. It is a do or die moment. You either move on or go home. Redbird Esports has fought their way here, but Team Burrito also wanting to have that chance to fight against WISP once again as we enter in once for this Dawn Market.
Team Burrito, I mean, they're hovering a little bit of a different composition here. Also, interestingly enough, Mikey is going to be the main tank, so this is a little bit of a change from what we saw yesterday, where it was Rhino who was the main tank, and this is a very Maryville-esque right now. Mikey going to be on that main tank role, so having that little bit of a swap as a little bit of an interesting change of composition, is this feels like it's a little more thirsty for Team Burrito. A lot of peel as well for that backline, so when these dives come in from Redbird Esports, it'll be a little bit difficult because they have so much peel with the Diva, with the Brigitte as well.
Nice focus into this doorway, though, really preventing Team Burrito from getting anywhere onto this position, as you have Redbirds drawing back now. They've gained the space. They will retreat back to see if they can continue to focus fire through this doorway. The dive comes in from Gig, but overstays their welcome just slightly. The supports are pumping out so much, but can't keep Gig alive. But even with Gig going down, Vision gets a two-piece, shuts down the support line, and this will be Team Burrito in shambles.
Yeah, I mean, we see here Dove is going into the backline with the pulse bomb, doesn't manage to find anything, so it's going to have to be a reset here for Team Burrito, but they're still trying, still poking away, seeing if they can find an opening to get back onto this point.
And you can see Mikey just continuing to beat that corner. Same thing with Dove, but not nearly as much health value nor defenses to mitigate that fire, so has to be super cautious on how they engage onto this. Repositioning to the backside, looking for the support, but the Coalescence is active, able to eliminate one up front with the assistance of Echo on this Reaper play. Instead of the Echo, which we've seen more predominantly, as Team Burrito has the duplicate and could look to use it committing into this next fight.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the sound barrier, though, on the other side for Liar, and Vision has the pulse bomb waiting in the wings, so a lot of sustainability here for Redbird Esports in this fight. Here comes the
Tree comes in quickly with the Reaper, but has to bail out of there because the damage was so quick onto the focus fire. Nobody was there to mitigate it, so they don't get the upfront value, and now scrambling for the last 5 seconds that remain to get to this Death Blossom, forcing back. Eiko does get the assistance from Dove. The tail end of the Death Blossom does a little bit of damage for Dove to get the follow-through, and now they finally take it away.
Swapping back over to Team Burrito there. I mean, they really did a good job of just like kiting away from the support ultimates that Redbird Esports had in that scenario. Liar uses that sound barrier, and then Team Burrito was like, okay, we're going to just back away. We have a rally of our own to kind of recontest into it, and now this is a very good position for Team Burrito because they're going to be able to stay down and kind of poke through these chokeholds. Dove takes out Visions, means more time is going to be taken off the clock, and this is really where Team Burrito wants to be, spamming through these areas, making Redbird Esports life miserable as they try to get back into this point and just take as much time off the clock as they can.
Never allow him to get a solid foothold. Right there, once again, almost gets the pickup onto Vision, forces out the recall because they were literally about to die. But now as they take this flanking position, Eiko up front putting a lot of damage into the defense matrix, waiting for it to fall so they can dwindle the health value of Mikey, but the supports are close by. Vision comes in from the back line onto Dove, and that gives the numbers advantage. Gig forces out the Primal Rage, but that Discord makes it really difficult to continue maintaining that front position as Eiko goes in for the Death Blossom for the moment, getting quite a bit of damage onto that D.Va play. What a self-destruct instantly into the bubble. It doesn't get it, but the remech comes through. The explosion might not have gotten you, but the mech sure can.
That's a remake kill. Visions is still alive dancing, but there's no heals, only 9 health, and they're going to get taken out. And throughout all this, it's been Team Burrito who still had control at this point. Redbird used everything in that last fight, Rich, and now are making desperate swaps. Gig is going back over to the Zarya. Rupel's going to be going over to the Ana, and this is just desperation swaps for them right now. They have to make something happen with an anti-nade, get that bubble for Eiko into that back line. But Team Burrito, another duplicate available for Tree. Last fight territory.
By territory as the aggression comes up front. There's the shield from Gig to keep Eiko alive, but they continue to just pummel this Reaper play from Redbirds. Ain't able to get anything, and that percentage towards the Death Blossom is nowhere near another one. With now Vision on the point, having the pulse bomb, tosses it out, gets eliminated. Luke Mino follows through and finds an angle. No one can even get there to compete. Eiko's far too late.
Wait.
And they've got Team Burrito claiming it.
I don't know if I'm just jaded from what we saw yesterday on this map, but like I don't think that was a C9. I'm not gonna call it a C9.
I think they just had a little bit of off timing. Yeah. Eiko was looking to try and get, with the shadow step into the back to try and be able to contest it. So it was just a little bit of a misplay. I wouldn't say it's E9 level. It's just a game of
inches. The TP was very close to getting it, but it is going to be Team Burrito taking that first map as we go over to our second map of Control Center. Wondering if we'll see any changes. I mean, for Redbird Esports, this composition still will work on a map like this, where it is very enclosed. You get a lot of value from the AoE healing of the, of the Moira, of the Lucio. Eiko is going to, be incredibly impactful with just using those Hellfire shotguns in enclosed areas. It looks like Team Burrito will be opting in for a similar composition. One of the things, though, is those flankers is the differentiation here. Got Tree, who's got a little bit more burst damage, with Vision is going to be that pesky little mosquito darting around without necessarily that burst potential, but just the consistent damage.
And Dove gonna match the Reaper play as well to try and see if they can reduce their counterpart or either the Winston up front, because Gig has been very aggressive on this Winston play, already getting an elimination onto it. Vision finds it, Gig follows in suit like I commented, and this is Redbird Esports though managing to get the better end of this exchange as they've done prior, getting it first, and they just have to hold it.
Yeah, and this is one of the issues kind of with the Echo, at least in this, where they fought in that first point, where if you're fighting in Control Center room, Echo doesn't have a lot of space to work with. And Tracer, when you're Tracer, you can just kind of move around, continuously shoot, and you can see the differentiation in Ultimate Charge already, where Vision's is about to get that Pulse Bomb. Tree, not necessarily close towards that duplicate, but now, once they get into this more open area, Tree can find a little bit more value.
And Redbirds are going to let them push in. They want to wait for this opportunity to dive in, as you've seen Gig very aggressively looking for the back position. But Rack Attack takes down Eiko. That's going to spell disaster to get a lot of frontline damage onto Mikey. The Pulse Bomb does equalize for the moment, but Mikey still has so much Tesla Cannon damage up front with the assistance of the back line that they'll be able to take advantage of this and swap it over.
Really good decision as well in positioning from Team Burrito in that fight, where they know that they need to get to some place where there is a little more open area for Tree to get some value, and they're able to do it with not a lot of ultimates used as well. They're about to have a 5-pack coming into this next fight. Redbird Esports have a ton of ultimates in their own right coming in, but a little bit of an advantage coming in for Team Burrito. A lot of powerful effects going to be here in this next fight here.
Yep, with this Primal Rage waiting to be used, actually gets the bubble. The hesitation from Mikey, the confidence from the Coalescence to keep them alive, knowing that they don't have to forfeit that ultimate, as it's going to be the duplicate from Tree to get potentially a double Death Blossom here. One from Dove, the other from Tree. Tree is holding on to it until they can get back onto this position to go for both supports, but there is a great sound barrier. Again, Liar really just confident in their reservation to utilize that. But once one Death Blossom comes, the second falls in suit. And you have Team Burrito able to overrun with just the sheer ultimate economy that they've been able to commit into this.
I mean, fantastic ultimate patience as well coming out from them. Like, they know that they have an advantage. You even saw Tree holding onto that Death Blossom for so long, knowing that they want to get an ultimate cooldown out of it for something, you know, get the sound barrier. Then Dove can come back in with their own Death Blossom, get those health bars low, and Mikey still had Primal throughout all that, so really good ultimate cycling coming out from Team Burrito. We're now at that 70%. And we're getting close towards that last fight territory. By the time Redbird Esports gets into that fight, they're going to need to win it, or they're going to be going down 1-0.
And it could be deja vu from our previous round, hoping not that it's going to repeat itself, as you've got Vision in the back, still looking for valuable damage onto the supports, but that barrier is covering it with Mikey playing far forward. Tree getting chipped away in the high ground, but now being forced back. There's a little bit of hesitation for this re-engagement. Vision has to force out the recall, just attempting to get towards this pulse bomb and seeing if they can get it online fast enough to turn this back as they approach this 99. Luke Mino leads with the Coalescence, gives a lot of sustainability here for Team Burrito as Redbird Esports, it's do or die now. The overtime is active. Vision will be able to get back, but is not still with the pulse bomb. Eiko takes down one and needs this Death Blossom. Any ultimate has to come online for Redbird Esports to try and turn this back.
Yeah, this should be Redbird Esports. I mean, they even have the ultimates if this gets really scrappy, but they might not even need them. They should be able to flip right here at 30%. And Rich, off the back of a single Coalescence, Redbird Esports is able to win with some well-placed damage coming in from Eiko, specifically taking out his counterpart in Dove, making this fight a lot easier for Gig to maneuver. And this is a bit of a scary situation now on the other side for Team Burrito because they are a little bit, I mean, they have the ultimates to kind of sustain here, but they need to win this fight. They needs to not do really aggressive fights. Here comes the Death Blossom.
Oh, the barrier comes up, but it doesn't matter. You're going to have Rack Attack get outside of the circle, so it does get an elimination and presses forward. This is Redbird Esports throttling with what they have and still only commit now one, which is the Death Blossom.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. They know that they need to win these fights by some means of just using singular ultimates so they can wait for the time where Team Burrito has the wallet of ultimates to smack them back with. You can see Vision's on the flank trying to find something with this pulse bomb. Look at him looking for something. Can he find the stick?
They're not too aware of it. They've just continued to push forward. This pulse bomb needs to land, attempting to get the sightline onto the Lucio play. Rack Attack, though, with the sound barrier along the wall, skittering by, able to survive through the damage as Rupel has another Coalescence, mind you. Another one to commit into this now that the sound barrier has fallen. Gig forces the Primal Rage because the health value is so low, with Dove continuing to shell them once and over again. 99 into the 99 overtime, and Redbird Esports have everything to gain in this because they continue to focus fire, and Mikey's just causing harassment. But as I say that, it's going to be close to swap over because the numbers advantage is in favor of Team Burrito.
Oh, I mean, I really love what Mikey's been doing with these Primal Rages, using them and waiting for the last second to know that they have a sustainability advantage. You see that he's always ulting last, and Redbird Esports have to make desperate swaps to try and stall here.
Wow, Eiko has miraculously kept this in contention. Finally does go down. They're still preventing it. Vision now with a hope and a dream and a prayer to contest this as Gig opts for the Doomfist. That heavy mobility to get onto the point, but there's not enough protection that can be gained with that front gauntlet, and you will have Tree on the Symmetra just beaming away those that remain, and that will be Team Burrito taking this first map of control.
Team Burrito starting us off with a win here. Redbird Esports played it close, but Team Burrito, the ultimate cycling that they have with this composition, absolutely phenomenal. Mikey will be getting play of the game here on that Winston. And I really loved what I saw from Team Burrito when it was these like very heavily, you know, 5 ultimate type of fights. They were always the ones who were ulting last and could always sustain through whatever Redbird Esports brought to the table. And then Mikey specifically, again, I talked about it a little bit during the match where it was every time that there was a Primal Rage from Gig on the other side, Mikey was like, okay, I'm totally fine to just wait this out, and then once all the ultimates are out of the fight, I'm going to have Primal Rage, and that is essentially a fight win because there's nothing that the enemy team's going to be able to do to deal with it. So well played, and hats off to Team Burrito for a very, very well coordinated ultimate rotation cycling in that map, and they're going to be taking that 1-0 lead.
And Redbirds were attempting to do the same thing. We saw it towards that later portion. It was specifically only the Death Blossom, looking specifically for the Pulse Bomb. But then they got that Coalescence back up again, which major hats off to Rupel, who has been so valuable for this team, keeping everyone alive, and the ability to still generate a lightning fast ultimate like that back to back between a fight with the reduction in ultimate generation that we've talked about going into Overwatch 2 is just a significant factor to really keep in mind when looking at the bigger picture here. And as we go into this next map, which is going to be pushed, this is the one I touched on earlier. I cannot wait to see how it's going to work between these two, because they do have a very, very well-rounded understanding of just this ebb and flow between them. And I would not be surprised if it's just as competitive as the game that we had yesterday with Team Burrito and WISP.
And I wonder what we'll see in terms of the composition when it comes to the tanks, because Push is usually a map where you can see a lot of variation. Like you see on Coliseum, I think it's a lot of, Zarya. There is some ability to play the D.Va as well that we saw yesterday. There is still, Winston's still a thing. That's probably one of the best tanks that we have in Overwatch right now in the beta as it comes to this end. But looks like we do have our second map. It is going to be New Queen Street. That is going to be our next map. One that we didn't see yesterday, us specifically, we saw Coliseum. And this one's a little bit more interesting because it always has that one starting fight where you're on that high ground next to where the bot starts, and it's kind of like a dance, right? It's like who's gonna make the first move, or make the first mistake rather, who's gonna make the first big play. That is usually what determines the first fight. And from first fight is usually the thing that kind of a little bit like Control decides a lot of the tempo of the map. And if you can get a good advantage off your first push, you can really just play with the time, play with the meters to be able to basically run the clock down enough to where you can just win off the back of the progress you've made.
The other part that's really interesting and the differentiator between the two is when we actually take a look at that first initial point, leaning a little bit more heavily into your topic about that initial fight. Because when we look at Coliseum, you've got basically that channel or the hallway at which that you work with. You have a wall directly to your left or right when you're looking at it, and then a few corridors to the left. But looking right here in this overhead, it's almost like a peninsula. You've got the bot towards the end of it. There's a lot of trackways underneath, that high ground bridgeway as well, a catwalk to work with, the long outskirts to where that environmental edge is. Just being able to play around this specific entry fight is so much more unique to Coliseum, which is why I personally find this one a little bit more competitive, and it has a little bit more of that hesitation as well in how you want to lean into that first engagement.
I think the other thing about this map that's different is the amount of flanking potential that you have on a map like this is pretty absurd,
Absolutely.
With all the corridors you can go through, with all the lanes. That's why Soldier and Tracer are being, played a lot right here, is because those are heroes that are very good on the flanks, and you can see Mikey's even opting in for the D.Va. Again, something that can shut down flankers if needed. But again, by statute, this is where we always start here on this map. We have this first engagement here. We'll see what can happen between both of these teams. Be on the lookout for their Tracers going into the back line, seeing if they can take out one of the supports and burst down this fight before it even starts.
And playing around this center structure, making sure that they get a lot of sightline prevention for it until they do want to go for the dive. There it is, quickly by Redbird to collapse onto tree, getting them eliminated into the backside as well from Rupel. Great responsiveness to this, and that's going to allow Redbirds to take this and start getting that early progression.
And I think flex supports are going to be incredibly important on a map like this, because there's so much threat of that flank that you need to be able to, kind of duel a little bit with those Tracers. You can see Echo a little bit ahead in terms of that ultimate charge coming towards that pulse bomb very, very quickly, and that could just be more progress here, or for Redbird Esports taking this one back.
And you've got Team Burrito playing that corridor and that channel near where the push bot is so that they can keep it contested without giving up too much space nor leaving themselves vulnerable, and allowing that backline harassment from Tree to continue to ensue. Echo has the pulse bomb, waiting to see where they're going to drop that pulse bomb onto the front side. Mikey is getting very overwhelmed. A triple Bionade comes out by Rupel. Redbirds just takes that one instantly because of the support play.
Yeah, and Redbirds is also doing a good job of covering those flanks. Like you mentioned it, the corridor, making sure that they know exactly where everyone is, making sure that they have eyes on everyone as well, so there is no threat of that flank. As you see a pulse bomb coming in from Echo, doesn't manage to hit anything just yet, but the Nanner's on the gig.
Look at how aggressive you're just seeing Redbirds play. This is much more confidence for them, it seems. And the Primal Rage being held on to, the Discord Orb is going to be a little bit more desirable here for Team Burrito as they do force out the Primal Rage. The damage gets very low and can't even escape Luke. Mino unleashing hell onto the Scientist as you've got Dub coming in with Attack Visor to secure this return engagement, and now has a chance to gain some distance themselves.
I don't think I've ever seen a Winston Primal melt that quickly. That was pretty nuts how much damage was done. And Team Burrito now comes back in, and this is kind of the push and pull of push, as we'll say, is that Team Burrito now is in a position with the ultimates that they have and with the swaps that Redbird Esports are making. They have Rally soon, they're going to have Self-Destruct, they're going to have Transcendence. The support ultimates are so in their favor here that they can snowball their way back into you know, into this equilibrium against Redbird Esports in terms of their push pull.
Should an April Fool's joke be we change it from push to pull and the bot pulls it? Come on, I'm giving you gold right now, Blizz. I'm giving you gold. As you do see this attention to detail towards where the position is, but again, a little overzealous play. Gig goes down, Eiko eliminated. This is an easy pickup here for Team Burrito.
And it's pickups without using ultimates either. That's the worst part for Redbird Esports here, is that Team Burrito now is just totally fine continuing to push this cart. They will be able to most likely get it to this checkpoint. There is going to be a recontestation from Redbird Esports here. They have a sound barrier to work with, and they have Vision's Tac Visor that could be thrown on the flank or just used to create space.
They will be active on that backside. You can just see the attention redirected onto the flanking position, networking through that small room. Fitness area is going to be the passageway, as you do get some decent shots. Can't manage to really find anything with it, though. Redbirds, they're committing quite a bit, but they still come up short in this.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have Ruple in this fight, so this is just a win for Team Burrito. There was not enough healing from the Lucio after Tree was able to take down Ruple so early, and this has just been a complete and utter just reversal of fortunes for Redbird Esports here. Oh, don't do it to him. Don't do it to him, Tree. Okay.
It's okay. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that.
Tree was trying. He was trying to make something happen, but Visions will go back onto that Tracer because you need someone to check Tree here, and it's got to be another Tracer.
It's cool outside. There's not many leaves, so there isn't much shade today. As you have Dove continuing to push forward with the damage around the corner. Does get one instantly and looks for the second. Both supports are down. Team Burrito is making some serious headway with this return push. Oh my goodness!
Fight, but I mean, it hasn't necessarily pushed the cart as much because there was Visions just on the cart, or on the bot rather, I should say, that was just holding the line and making sure it wasn't pushing forward. But here we have an engaged Dove getting extremely low, gets taken out.
Finally, Dove being punished after the triple kill. You do have Gig opting to go onto this Doomfist. They've had a rotation of tank line thus far, and hopefully this third decision will be the final one for them to be able to gain some value with a nano boost online. They swap it back, they force back Team Burrito and look to go again.
Yeah, I think they can put this nano boost onto the Echo if they would so choose, but I mean, they didn't even need it, Rich. This is an anti. This is a fight done.
Yep, big nade comes out instantly onto Rack Attack. You had Lucamino already eliminated, so this will just be a nice cleanup and continue to try and bring that bot closer. But look at this harassment again, just consistently causing dismay to the team with Mikey.
And now this is one of the scariest parts, though, for Redbird Esports here, because they have to win so many fights, and they are down significantly in terms of the progress of the bot. And we only have about 2.5 minutes left, so they need to essentially here play perfectly from here on out, because if it's a fight win for Team Burrito, they're going to be able to push this bot all the way back, and then Redbird's is going to have to play in overtime where it's literally win, and you need, I mean, that's it. When Gig is down, there's no fight now.
No, there isn't, and at this point, it's just going to be trying to see if they can get any sort of turnaround, at least in numbers, and just playing in these wings, all those little caverns in the back until they can get that 5-stack again.
I mean, there's a pulse bomb coming in from Visions. Mikey does get D-mech. Lucamino has Transcendence to cover it if they need to get Mikey back into that mech. But Eiko is doing a good job. Lucamino gets taken out. That's no Transcendence.
Yep, Gig now onto the front line, getting some decent damage onto that Tracer play. Does go down with Eiko getting the pickup. Now you can see here, looking to regroup again. The duplicate is alive. Waiting to see if they can get to this position. This is such a challenge. Tree is causing so much harassment onto Eiko, who finally does go down, is punished in the small room, and this is the window for Redbirds.
I mean, these fights are so scrappy, but it always is going to favor Team Burrito because they have the advantage when it comes to the meters in this push map, and Team Burrito still have ultimates to work with, but Redbird Esports have some of their own. Duplicates available for Eiko. You can see him on the flank. A nice check from Tree, knowing there's the possibility of that Echo over there.
Oh, Eiko being very, very careful, cautious as they now attempt to go in onto the Tracer to get this lightning fast pulse bomb. Dove is in the sideline.
That was during
the stick with the tactical visor. Dove has been shut down. Deja vu from yesterday, it seems, but coming out from Redbird Esports with now the pulse bomb tossed into the mix onto the counter side. Tree attempting to stop this momentum forward, but Redbirds are still in this because they've drawn back and still keep, Vision and Liar go down though, and that's not what you want to see.
And respawn advantages are here for Team Burrito, and we're starting to tick down towards the last minute, Rich. This needs to be a fight win for Redbird Esports, but they just don't have the sustainability or the legs to stand on, and Gig's gonna get taken out. This bot will go back over to Team Burrito. And now, by the time we get another fight hit here, Rich, it's going to be overtime, and that means Redbird Esports are going to have to play perfectly from here on out. They cannot lose another fight. They have a Nano to work with, but Luke Mino still sitting on that Transcendence, definitely going to be helpful to deal with any of the incoming damage that we might see.
And now, with Dove up top again, looking to see where the engagement comes through. Transcendence has been popped, instantly acknowledging that Eiko is out in the sky. But with that happening, you're right. Gig and Liar go down. Team Burrito in a dominant position now to close out these final seconds. Dove has come online, especially towards the tail end of this, to pick up the necessary players from Redbirds, and the overtime is going to dwindle. There's no way that Redbird's coming back in full force, and this will be a map 2 for Team Burrito.
Stall tactics at the moment. They're just trying to make sure that they can make their last stand here. Liar goes down, though. Gig is 1 health, will get taken out, and that should be it, Rich. It's going to be a 2-0 lead for Team Burrito against Redbird Esports here. And what I really love from Team Burrito was the understanding that flankers are king on a map like this, and they did such a good job of making sure that the DPS duo of Redbird Esports were never in a position to get those free flanks off. Dove and Tree were controlling those flanks, and also having Mikey, I think, was really cool on the D.Va, because D.Va, I mean, in Overwatch 1, was very adept at doing kind of the similar things where you could go and, you know, put your defense matrix in front of the Tracer, in front of a Soldier 76. But now, as the solo tank, it even gets more value, I think, because if you could shut down those flanks, especially on a map like New Queen Street, it gives yourself so much space to work with. And I just really love what I saw from Team Burrito there. Redbird Esports unfortunately falling down 0-2 against this Team Burrito, and are going to have to play perfectly from here on out, because it is that match point now.
It really is. And honestly, when we take a look at just the performance thus far, it's those little small micro plays that have just allowed Team Burrito to take advantage of this. There's some early aggression, this power, this force that comes out from Redbird Esports to get them into the early lead, but it's just the sustainability. It's able to keep that same type of applied pressure, or to be able to react effectively to how Team Burrito is able to take these advantages. And again, it all started to kind of change once they got that second engagement, because you mentioned it too. You're talking about taking every fight the rest of the way. When it comes to the earlier portions of it, if you get the fight win and then you get the second one, you put yourself in that perfect middle ground position of where you know that the opposing side has to get that back-to-back, almost 3 consecutive fight wins to really turn it around. It's so substantial from what we've seen so far, especially for yesterday and just today what we've casted.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dichotomy between the map, because it's like, you can win first fight, like we did see. I mean, Redbird Esports won that first fight, you know, won, I say very loosely, because the fight lasted for like a very long time, and it's very scrappy, and you can, you know, have the Tracer just stall cart, and all the progress that you would have made if the bot was still moving just doesn't mean anything, and you have to go and win another fight. So having that like advantage of like 50 meters is a very significant cushion, and Team Burrito played around it very well.
Yes, and we're going to give them just a moment so that they can take a breather before entering into this, because again, as you mentioned, it's match point. A reverse sweep is ahead of us. But before we do head to that short break, we do want to give a major shout out and thank you to Champria.gg. If you're an analyst, staff member, or player looking to really be able to grow your skill levels in Overwatch specifically, Champria.gg is a place where you can start your journey on your esports esports way to stardom. And, you know, only from with performance matches, we've got analytics, we've got teams, we've got Champria.gg is also introducing player-specific performance analytics this month specifically. Head over to the platform, create your team, invite players, start scrimming, and upload your data today. So we'll be seeing you in just a moment, friends, after this break.
Hello, friends. My name is Jeff from Map 5 Podcast. I'm here with Neptune to have a little chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Neptune. I formerly played with ATK mode /drifters, and I'm currently playing with Alkaline in the current Natter tournament.
So we're here to talk a little bit about the beta and just kind of the future of Overwatch in general. So first question, what's your favorite part of the beta so far?
Currently, I've been really enjoying like seeing what teams have been coming up with and playing. Like for example, like on Circuit Royale, Mam's like still coming out with their like Sim May. You know, we've seen London do that against Vancouver Titans this weekend. So it really feels nice and fresh to see other comps besides like Brigzen and Ball Tracer, you know? Trying new heroes, like all the changes, like Doomfist. I'm actually in love with the Doomfist change. It's like so much better. It feels like really good. Like it doesn't feel broken. He's really strong still, you know, he has his own spot, like we've seen with Houston over the weekend, you know.
As a Dallas fan, don't remind me. No, but it does bring. We have a fresh new set of strategies that hasn't been figured out yet. So,
Oh yeah.
What would you like to see added in this next iteration of the beta?
If they have any like support heroes on the back burners, I really want to see that get released because like I would say support has really not have a lot of changes compared to the others. You know, I wish like there would be like a new support hero that would like change it up. You know.
Yeah, it makes sense because it feels like we've gotten new DPS and new tanks essentially with all the reworks.
Yeah.
I mean, Orisa is basically a brand new hero. The Doom fix we were talking about. Supports was last time we got a big change was what, Baptiste being added?
Yeah, and Baptiste, I think, you know, kind of not the best anymore. Or, yeah, he's not the really greatest right now, but like, I don't know. I just wanted to see a different hero to change it up, you know.
Let's focus more on the community here, and Path to Pro specifically. Now, if you could make one improvement to the Path to Pro system for Overwatch 2, what would it be?
I think the increase in like competitions and like open divisions. You know, now that there's like top 32 is basically contenders, right? I think, just to see like more attempts to like increase like diversity in contenders and like cycle more, you know.
Try to give more players an opportunity to shine, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just way more competition. You know, potentially see more new faces in like trials or contenders. You know.
Hey, we got to dream big. We got to dream big now.
Yeah.
Yeah, with this beta coming out, it does bring a lot of hope for the future and hope for positive change. What is one thing that you hope the new game will bring to the era of Overwatch?
I hope it brings back more and new players. As someone who basically like stepped away from Path to Pro, like I kind of constantly get asked to ring. So it's like I'm hoping there's some like new and more better players and talent that we're able to play against and with, you know. Just like more new blood, right?
Right.
Especially with like Pokemon and like XQC streaming, probably like many others. Like I'm not listening, right? But you know, I just hope there's like new and better players that enter the scene to make, you know, just have more players, have more Overwatch players, right?
Injection of fresh blood. I mean, means that it's kind of it'll increase the competitiveness and kind of a high tide raises all ships scenario. Well, hey, we appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. Any final thoughts to the community before we close out this interview?
Really hoping this Natter tournament will be amazing. Natter always runs really good stuff from what I've experienced.
All right, friends. Well, that is going to do it for this interview, and we're going to get back into the Natter Beta Clash. We will see you for the next one.
Peace.
Man, I really do want some bite ramen right now, Kenobi. Every time I see that commercial coming back into this, it makes me want some.
It is a very good commercial for getting you hungry.
It really
like
is.
Ramen specifically, but it's been a great series so far, I think, between both these teams. And what I'm really interested in is how we see Redbird's Esports adapt a little bit towards, Team Burrito playing a little bit more of this diva. That is something that we haven't seen too much necessarily in OWL. We've seen it a little bit throughout this tournament, more so than in, Overwatch League, but I think Redbird Esports now, they have their map pick to work with here going into our third map. This is where, again, as casters always like to say, this is where the reverse sweep starts, but you got to play perfect from here on out. And if there is a team that's capable of doing it, it is Redbird Esports, who, even just at the most recent collegiate tournament, reverse swept Northwood, who is a very good team in their own right. So anything's possible with this Redbird Esports team.
And really got to put, a lot of focus on the adaptation and ability to stay consistent in how they play these maps. But again, push is the unique one that we're still, saying that individuals are getting accustomed to. So now that we go to something that's a little bit more regular on escort, it'll be exciting to see how that changes up ever so slightly. And, with what we've seen so far, Team Burrito, at this point, they haven't really needed to, think twice about how they've been playing. It's been extremely dominant coming out from Dove. There has been recognition, at least from Redbird Esports, that they need to really keep focus onto Dub, who's been getting some value specifically, which again is what we saw yesterday. They have these pop-off moments. They have the ability to elevate themselves to a really, really competitive style. And right now they're putting on a show so that they can get themselves into this grand finals position to come back against WISP, who put them here in the first place.
Yeah, they want that grand finals rematch. They want to run it back, but Redbird Esports is going to be here trying to say, no. We want to be able to go into the grand finals.
We want it more. We want it more.
I mean, it is, again, going to be a very difficult journey for them because Team Burrito, I think, is playing so well. I think Mikey has been an addition to this team that has really shaken it up a little bit. I think bring, that diva to the table. Not to say that Rhino was, a problem yesterday, but I think Mikey, offers a little bit of that wrinkle that maybe Redbird Esports weren't really prepared for. So, and he's playing extremely well, so I think that's definitely something that Team Burrito can hang their hat on going forward if they do manage to get to that grand final.
Well, and that's also an option too, like having diversity in the composition. At this point, it might be something that they feel is definitely strong to play against Redbirds, but we could have an adjustment and an adaptation going potentially against WISP if they do manage to take this game. They have that type of opportunity with the roster that is ahead of them versus just having a solid 5 where you've got your guaranteed set of players and you stick to what you know. So being able to have that diversity is really nice, and I would agree with you entirely that this diva play has been quite substantial, and just being able to really cause so much chaos for Redbird Esports to be able to handle and overcome truly on multiple occasions.
And we are going to be going to our next map, which is going to be Circuit Royale, actually, as our third map, which is one that we haven't seen yet, you and I, Rich, but it is a map that, based on what I've seen from Overwatch League and based on what I've seen playing it, not many people finish this map. This is a map that usually takes place in the first 2 points and then half of the third map. This is a very interesting map to play, an interesting map to observe because it feels a little bit different than all the other ones. This is the map where one of the only maps where I think Sigma actually works pretty significantly. I know that there's some other kind of parts where he can see some value, but with the amount of long range hit scan that are in a map like this, I think, and the amount of poke that we see a lot, Sigma does feel pretty valuable on a map like this. Definitely expect the Widowmaker. Maybe don't expect the Mei. Maybe don't expect that one because we've seen what happens sometimes when the Mei is on a map like this. But hey, anything can happen.
I mean, my biggest thing is with what we saw yesterday from Dove on the Widowmaker play, you're going into a map that has that, and that just puts a new frame of mind to this because Redbird Esports is going to feel confident picking this because, again, this was their specific map selection, so they feel confident in it, and Vision is going to be the one to lay the foundation here and set this up with that Sigma, like you mentioned, and the significance for this team, especially with Moving Fish coming in as the substitute.
Yeah, this feels a little bit like a gauntlet throwdown, right? Where it's okay, Visions, you're going onto your Widowmaker. We know that you're very good at this pick. You might have to go up against Dub, but we have, full faith in you. And actually, we're seeing a Hammond come out from the other side for Team Burrito. A lot of disruption from what I'm seeing from this team, right? And you can see Tree is just waiting patiently on the other side. Before the engagement happens, they're looking to get an assassination right away, but Visions is aware of it.
Yep, and again, that's what the patience was, waiting to go over into that high ground and instantly dropping down, utilizing this architecture not to give Vision the sightline, but every time that Tree peeks, whether it's Tree or Rack Attack at that matter, they are going to be checked.
But I really like this decision from Team Burrito coming out, because look at how much space that Redbird Esports has had to forfeit here. And Team Burrito is totally fine just playing around the geometry here. They have to take down Visions, but it's not going to matter when Rupel takes down Tree. That's going to be a fight completely done and dusted. And while there was that cart progress, it's just really difficult again. If Vision is hitting those shots, Tree can't really play the game.
Vision's like, I'll get the bodies. Rupel, take him down. You got it, friend. And he's like, I got you.
Bag him and tag him.
And now you've got Dove underneath looking for the pickup. Does get the elimination onto both that Immortality Field and Liars. They lose the Baptiste. Rupel is going to be a little bit more vulnerable now not having the Immortality Field. But as I say that, it's going to be a lovely kick to the face. As Dove goes down, Tree still rains some damage from on high. And Moving's got to be able to keep the shield up to block those rockets, because at this point, you still have Redbirds giving up space.
Yeah, and a lot of these scrappy fights, it is going to favor Team Burrito, because they're going to thrive in the kind of disruption composition where Tree can just get into the backline, free fire. There's no one to really hold him down, and now it's just Redbird Esports having to make a defense here before Team Burrito gets first.
And you can see Moving just swinging that camera around, attempting to keep eyes onto Dove, who has been so agile and utilizing these corridors to find angles onto the opposing side. Aiko gets one for Mikey, and Vision, unfortunately right now, isn't just quite landing the shots. They've landed quite a few for the execution to be followed up by a teammate, but alone thus far hasn't been able to get the value, and now is going to get clipped from the side. A rocket is there. They're in the middle of two, and Dove is just looking to escape, but Aiko comes in after the ping comes through to give Vision assistance.
Yeah, that might have been the greatest Venom mine that I've ever seen there. Dove didn't necessarily get to do anything because they were just on Vision. Here comes the Pulse Bomb, is able to take down Luke Mino, and this is going to have to be a retreat here for Team Burrito. Mikey needs to get out with their life, and this feels like Team Burrito is just waiting for that moment where they have all their ultimates and can just brute force their way onto first, because they are close enough to where they just win a fight, you know, with enough members alive still in their back pocket, that they will just be able to push this forward and should be totally fine. But Redbird Esports have some things to counter it. They have a Transcendence. They also have Gravitic Flux to make it scary for Team Burrito to throw all of their ultimates into the fight.
And this is also favorable because now you can't use the architecture to your advantage as much. You can't go over the top. The Flux comes in, gets two, but a Rocket Barrage comes in as well. Aiko and Vision make wonders out of that fight with now only 50 seconds left to go.
Yeah, I mean, this feels a little bit like the Sigma is getting a ton of value here as well, because the Gravitic Flux there stopped the initial engage, and while it was a nice start to the fight with the Farah Barrage getting that kill onto Liar, there was just too much on the other side sustainability-wise for Team Burrito to deal with from Redbirds, and Redbirds don't necessarily have the ultimates to stand on in this fight, and there's still a couple of ones from Team Burrito, but you're right, the clock is ticking, and this is most likely the last fight we're going to have.
Tree aggressively diving into the back, finding an angle, but doesn't get the full chase down onto the Tracer plays. It's a 1-for-1. Both supports. Rez comes through. Team Burrito still in this, but as they sacrifice to get the Rez, Mikey goes down. You're solely relying now onto the DPS to carry this to victory. 6 seconds to go. Vision's uncontested. The minefield zones off the contention against this, so they get that checkpoint. Actually, they're just shy of it. They won't be able to, and Vision's still in the back.
Yeah, Moving Fish is back here on that Doomfish, trying to sustain as much as they can, and actually it will eventually end up going over to Team Burrito, so they wipe some sweat from their brow a little bit. They made it, you know, Redbird Esports made them work for it extremely hard, but it is a first point cap, and now they get a second lease on life here, and this is where they can play a little bit more aggressive, as you can see Tree dashing and diving into that backline, getting so many kills. And this is really where Team Burrito needs to hit the gas and start moving this forward, like, aggressively. They need to get to second, because stopping here before second is a very scary proposition for them.
Vision gets a nice grapple shot to punish the Mercy, who overstays their welcome. But now Redbird Esports will be able to come back in as a solid 5. As Team Burrito now looks for a regroup up this archway. The ramp is not going to be a welcoming place for them, as at this point Redbirds is actually just going to play this high ground position and has dominance.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the scary parts as well, as Visions is extremely low. The Pulse Bomb gets eaten by Moving Fish. Well played from them. The trump card from Team Burrito not managing to hit Pater there, and this is one of the scary parts about a map like this. This high ground is a nightmare to push through, especially against a Widowmaker like this. It is just absolutely hellish.
You're so reliant on Dove to get value with the synergy from Mikey, but they've got Infra. They have full knowledge of where everyone is, and these shots attempting to get Rack Attack on the high ground come short. Vision, Agreston is still alive, miraculously, by the way. Moving Fish gets the shutdown onto Luke Mino, and Redbirds right now at this point just need to hold the line for a moment longer, but Tree with this blade comes up short. The Transcendence from Rupel guarantees a sustain and eliminates the minefield, and you've got Redbird saying, this is our map.
Wow, I mean, the peel again from Redbird's absolutely phenomenal. Their Visions was 2 health, by the way, and didn't manage to get taken down because of the peel from Moving Fish, from Liar. Well played from them, and last fight territory here for Team Burrito. I think they're probably just going to have to engage beat here and just get onto this payload and start pushing from there. But again, look at what they're going up against in terms of ultimates. This is going to be very difficult. Here comes the pulse. Luke Mino's down. There's no sound barrier now.
Echo with the pulse bomb shuts it out. The hopes and dreams from Team Burrito have been completely eradicated. They have Luke Mino drawing back to this fight as quickly as possible, but the numbers continue to become reduced, and that will be now Team Burrito forcing out a sound barrier only onto Luke Mino. The necessary win condition was found in the back by Echo, and that will be a beautiful hold on the rampway for Redbird Esports.
I mean, Mikey's still here trying to contest as much as they can, but it definitely won't be enough. With Discord Orb, it's gonna be done and dusted soon here, Rich. And I mean, what a performance and what a play from Echo so far on this Tracer. Not only did they have that moment where they stuck Luke Mino, literally the win condition of Team Burrito, but the way that they've been able to just peel away for the Widowmaker and make sure the other Tracer isn't able to just free fire, come in, one clip the Widowmaker, get out, was also exceptional. Controlling that other Tracer is something that I think really, really signifies to me that you understand the TVT matchup and the win conditions of your composition.
And also just to really highlight too, when we talk about, you know, fights like that towards the end of it, you mentioned it, the challenge to be stopped on that rampway. This is one of the few maps that we have coming as a new map into Overwatch 2, that it has this kind of wraparound feature where it does go to this uphill. So but when you lose that initial fight, the opportunity of recontention, even if you did have a closer spawn, is so challenging because you're just working your way to try and get onto a level playing field with your opponent.
Yeah, it feels like at that point you just have to like brute force your way in, like, I mean, Team Burrito were trying to at the end, you know, with the sound barrier going underneath and trying to go through the high ground, or you just opt into the mirror and bring out a Widowmaker of your own and some long-range DPS and hope and pray that you can, you know, win the Widowmaker 1v1 or get some picks that way, because without it, it's still, again, very, very difficult to circumvent that high ground. As we can see on the defensive end, Team Burrito opting in for, I would say, what the meta is of this map, where it is that Sigma, you know, bring in the Widowmaker as well. Dove, we saw yesterday what they did on Gibraltar, an absolutely phenomenal performance, but Visions has been popping off in their own right. So this Widowmaker battle will be incredibly important and impactful.
This is a very aggressive position, though, by Dove to try and get an early pick. No recognition, at least by Redbird Esports outright, as they've got now this Hanzo play with a Storm Arrow, reducing the shield up front very quickly, acknowledging that this could be something defensive. Team Burrito takes down Vision, though, and Dove at this point is a little bit more free to get those sight lines and angles.
Well, you know who else is free at this point? Tree is free as all heck, because there is no other Tracer on the other side to deal with him. There's literally no CC as well, besides maybe accretion hitting from Moving Fish. So I wonder if Redbird Esports are going to be opting into eventually putting the Tracer back in play, because while Hanzo does offer a little bit in terms of the shield break, yeah, you got to have someone to check Tree, because if Tree is left to their own devices in the backline, they will wreck you from the inside out.
Well, and you've got Rupel saying, all right, Tree, I'm going to cut you down. And if you fall in a forest with no one's there, I don't think anybody's going to hear you, friend. There's 3 minutes now still to go. I know. You did, friend. As you do look to continue seeing them push this corner. Echo gets the tank onto Mikey. Vision, at this point, looking for their counterpart. Echo's doing all the work. Why'd they even swap?
Yeah, I mean, this is why I really wanted the Tracer back, because not only is Eiko a phenomenal Tracer, but again, having the ability to counter tree and not leaving it to just, Rupel hitting one of those crazy volleys like we just saw from there. But Team Burrito will get back into this fight, have some ultimates to work with as well. Rally's going to be the important one. Pulse Bomb available for Tree also, and that Pulse Bomb from Tree could be the decisive factor in this next fight.
Eiko already starting to punish his Tree, like you mentioned, still ahead for the time being with the Pulse Bomb, looking for this backline aggression onto potentially the Tracer or even the support to force out that. Ooh, actually just goes wide, doesn't stick. Vision gets the shutdown since they're playing that far forward for the Pulse Bomb, and Rupel gets another. Redbird Esports are now staggering them out and in a position to reach this checkpoint and look for the home stretch.
Redbirds have some aimers on their team, man. This has been a phenomenal performance from them. Rupel, I mean, takes out Tree again. I mean, I was saying that, like, we need Eiko on the Tracer. Doesn't even matter. Rupel's just like, I'll deal with it. I will deal with it. Don't even worry about it, Eiko. You can just go do your own thing wherever else you want. I'll deal with the Tracer. Love what I'm seeing from Redbird Esports, pushing aggressively here. Look at the ultimate differential as well that we have. I mean, Tree is going to be the only one without an ultimate in this next fight. This is going to be a lot of particle effects. Here comes the verdict, Flux.
Flux early, only lands on one, entering into the rally. Pulse Bomb, oh my! Tree gets the pickups quick enough, and there is no value gained from it. But Vision able to remove the support. Lucmino commits that Transcendence to sustain down below, but the counter Flux also from Redbirds to try and turn this back is available to them, as now Mikey gets a little bit overwhelmed. This payload continuing to push forward. The golden box is there. 3 minutes and 30 seconds is a lot of time to work with. Team Burrito has managed to stem the bleeding, but it has yet to be completely handled.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to have a little bit of a handshake between both of these teams right now, where it's all going to be about who's going to be able to make the first move, going forward. Vision to switch over to the Hanzo, offering a little bit more of that shield break and that, pick potential that you do have from Hanzo that can just log you from anywhere. Don't necessarily have to rely on something like the grapple hook, but one of the things that we're going to be looking out for here is that first pick, where's the Widowmaker positioned, where's the Hanzo positioned, what are the Tracers doing as well, because those Tracers are going to be incredibly impactful in dealing. Oh my lord! I don't even think Vision's meant to do that!
Nope, that was not intended, but it sure as heck is going to give them the opportunity to take this match. Vision's just saying, all right, friend, I'll take it, as they rotate up the stairways looking for the flank to harass Dub in the back, who can't quite get a sightline. Nobody can contest, and Redbirds, out of nowhere, come up with this one in the end.
I mean, Widowmaker can't do that.
No!
Widowmaker can't do that. That was it. Visions was like, oh, okay, there's a Tracer just on my screen. Guess I'll just take him down with a headshot, and then Flanks uses that passive that Hanzo has to go onto that high ground, flank around, take down the Zenyatta, and after that, it was almost just elementary at that point for Redbird Esports, who on their map pick looked very good. Definitely understanding why they picked this map over the other ones, because they looked phenomenal on it. But now again, this is the start of their reverse sweep. They have to play against every single map pick of Team Burrito going forward.
And this is the morale boost you need. And in addition to just talking about morale boost, can we really just say right now, Rupel's kind of nutty on the Zen? We don't get to see a lot of it.
I mean, you could put a period after nutty, like
yeah,
like just in general. I think Rupel is just nutty as a player.
This is true.
Going for from what we've seen in collegiate, from what we're seeing now, like they can game. That's a pretty good flex support that you got there, Redbird Esports, and I think sky's the limit for a player of that caliber.
And with that consistency, and again, the utility of this Discord orb is really bringing a lot of value into it, because we haven't really seen too much of it. Again, when we talk about Overwatch League, we haven't really seen any Zen in the big spectrum of things. So we've always even highlighted when it comes to collegiate or community tournaments that we do get to see something that strives a little bit away from what we have in the tier 1. And it's moments like those that show what kind of worth we have here. And even also, like you had mentioned, there is a little bit of the patch difference, since they aren't technically utilizing the same Zenyatta that is in Overwatch League to what we have live in this PvP beta.
I call it Fun Zen.
Fun Zen, yes, the Fun Zen.
You have 25 extra shields, and you also get to kick people away. It's fantastic. It's a Zenyatta's perfect dream to be in a scenario like that.
It really, really is. And whenever that and when it does come into the OWL world, I am just waiting to see what kind of competitive play that brings, and if I can hope to see it. I guarantee we'll see that over the Orisa, so I'll definitely just acknowledge that that's fact. But with this, again, able to get this map. Now going into the next is going to be hybrid, following the same map order as we did yesterday when you and I were doing the best of 5. So transitioning into this, I'm curious to see what we're going to have selected here. We did have the chance to see that Midtown map, which was unique in how they played it, and even just the challenge when it came towards that later portion after initially getting the fire truck relinquished into that streets phase.
Kings Row is still an option as well. I mean, it is us, so that's definitely a possibility because it feels like all we do, especially when collegiate teams are involved, is we cast Kings Row.
True.
But you're right. I think that Midtown is an option for Team Burrito. I wonder what they would do if we're going to be going to Kings Row, because it is a map where I think they can play a lot of that, you know, Dallas dive composition that we've seen them play a lot. But Redbird Esports is also very good at that. And picking Kings Row is always interesting because it feels like it's not really an advantage map. It's like everyone like kind of has like some wrinkle when it goes to Kings Row. So it'll be interesting to see what they're opting in for. And it is going to be Kings Row for Team Burrito here. I would expect we're going to be seeing a lot of that, you know, Dallas dive style composition that we've been seeing from them with the Lucio Moira. But I mean, we did see yesterday, they brought out some different things, you know, even on the escort map of Gibraltar, we saw the Widowmaker come out. It's definitely possible that Team Burrito here in this deciding map for them will bring out something different to the table. But I'm really interested to see what Redbird Esports do, because they can't necessarily play the composition they played on Circuit Royale on a map like this. So really the ball is in their court.
It really is, but we were able to actually gain some stats by our lovely sponsor, by the way. When we take a look at that information, Aiko had 12 eliminations, 12 in that, 12 takedowns, just in their name in and of itself after swapping from that Hanzo. That was so significant, like you commented, to get that Aiko into this. And then also just when we talk about the contribution from Rupel, 6 themselves in contribution to this. I mean, that's just so significant compared to what just as a whole Team Burrito was able to do on just the entirety of that map.
Yeah, and I think as well, when we go into a map like this, where it is going to be that Kings Row map, this is definitely a map that requires a lot of that team coordination, and both these teams are also very good at it. I mean, every map requires like some semblance of team coordination. However, there are maps like, you know, New Queen Street, where I think flankers are really much more important. This is a map where it's like we need to be on the same page at all times, and Kings Row is a map where I think we go back to a little bit more of the standard. You know, Winston is a possibility here. Definitely could see something like the Lucio Moira support line that I talked about. Rhine, maybe. Like, if it was an EU team, I would say Rhine is a possibility, but I definitely expect this is probably going to be like Doomfist, or it's going to be something like the Winston.
And as we enter in onto this, once again, the stakes, we continue to look at them because it is do or die. Redbird Esports now on this attacking position, attempting to see if they can carry their way all the way through this map for a decent time in completion, as we look at that defensive position first. And, you know, you're going to see Moving Fish sticking around for this. So they're actually going to have them come in on the Doomfist play defensively against Team Burrito. And I can't wait to see what they're going to bring out on this to try and compete against Redbird's defense.
I mean, I do like Doomfist on the defense. I mean, even in Overwatch 1 on the map like this, where you had a lot of avenues to get into the backline, a lot of areas where you could basically just get in free engages and get out very easily. So Team Burrito is going to have to be very wary of that, as they are actually opting in for that Briggs Zen backline instead of Lucio Moira. So having that pocket potential to keep Luke Mina alive and let him frag.
And with that frag coming out, potentially, you do have Dove already looking. Is going to get peppered down just a little bit. Has to play super cautious as that Harmony Orb keeps them alive from Luke Mino. Still getting some decent damage, working their way to the hotel, focusing Rupel, who's been quite significant, as we've seen already, but can't sustain. Nobody's there to give the peel or the cover. And that will be an opportunity to try and exploit, since you're only relying on Liar at the moment.
Oh, Dove is so low, but actually managed to survive with the healing. Moving Fish goes down, and this should be a fight win for Team Burrito.
With that fight win coming up, it will be a large time bank for them to accrue, channeling into this streets phase. And Redbird Esports now, at this point, they're not going to be able to come back into this to contest. They'll even adjust the composition, now swapping it to where they're going for Liar onto the Brig and moving onto the Sigma.
Yeah, I think they need this specifically for the fact that, again, for Dove, this is a Dove change, because you saw Dove at the start of that fight basically just take out RuPaul. Tree is able to take out Visions here, and this is going to be more time that Team Burrito can just push forward with this aggression. Pulse Bomb's almost ready for Dove if they want to decide to use it and continue to just snowball their way through the second point of King's Row.
You can see Dove looking for the flank once again onto RuPaul, evades the volley. Pulse Bomb comes out, doesn't get the stick though, so a decent entry, but unfortunately couldn't finish it off. They will be harassed ever so slightly with the pressure up front by moving with the Sigma. Kinetic Grasp mitigating a lot of that incoming fire around the corner to get the sustainable shields so that they're not going to be dwindled down from the crossfire underneath the archway to that right-hand side from their position. As it's still a lot of time to work with, and moving is really holding this edge well until that dive does come through, though, with a pulse bomb. And Luke Mino's got to force out this Transcendence.
It was so low, but look at how much space Redbird are creating here, and the cart necessarily isn't moving. They finally get back onto it. Team Burrito are in a great position, taking out Moving Fish as well. That removes the tank and removes that ability to hold the shield. And Redbird Esports will just take this positioning, or Team Burrito rather, will take this positioning. But RuPaul takes down Tree, so it is back and forth a little bit here. Bit scrappy.
Gets a couple of nice angles on the orbs. Focusing beam from Eiko actually forces out the duplicate here to make sure that they don't get taken down, and also harassing towards that outskirt position. Opposing side, as there is a reset coming through over by the street position. Payload not quite there yet, but with this double Diva taking the high ground and the low ground, it should give space to potentially hold on to this.
Transcendence comes out for RuPaul. A lot of sustainability. Liar takes down Rack Attack. That's no break, but Deep gets a double with the pulse bomb. That's huge. Liar was so close towards Rally as well.
Now a Tree attempting to get back in with a double Diva of their own to sustain on the attacking position. Manages to follow up onto what Dove opened up for them and will be able to reach this checkpoint after the DMAC comes through.
Well played from Dove, bringing that back from the brink. I mean, that looked like it was a complete fight win for Redbird Esports in that scenario. Taking down Liar was the biggest deal, because if that Brig is in that fight, Rally could have definitely turned it, but Team Burrito takes second and have a huge time bank going into third here. About 5 minutes in their time bank. Mikey has a self-destruct. Transcendence available for Luke. Sustainability here in spades for Team Burrito.
Yeah, the sustainability has to get them through this entire push for the remaining portion. Again, this is a challenging area to be in. RuPaul gets an elimination early, though, as the rally gives a lot of health and extra defenses. But with that said, Tree takes down one, and you also get the DMAC onto moving, so it doesn't quite have them in the best position defensively right now, so Team Burrito gets some space.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey could just throw in the self-destruct to create even more space for the team to try and take third. They're waiting patiently. So much spam coming in from Team Burrito.
They're recognizing Eiko up top as they mitigate the sticky bombs with the defense matrix, tucked back in for the Mega Pack so that they can come back with a full HP bar, as that self-destruct is just ever so patiently waiting to toss into this. It actually has a lot of reservation before doing so.
Oh, and Luke Mino taking down Visions is huge. That means Luke Mino can just, without the threat of a Tracer, throw down so much damage in Discords. Potentially, Mikey's going to use the self-destruct here.
Landing just in front of the payload, moving, already actually getting taken out of the mech, so they won't be instantly blown to bits, but no one can get on fast enough. Eiko tries to dash forward, but comes up seconds too late, and that is a 3-minute and 39-second time bank here for Team Burrito. What a feat.
Yeah, that is very convincing from Team Burrito. I mean, it's no wonder they picked a map like this, because they absolutely, I mean, it felt like a complete snowball from them, right? Like, from the first fight win that they had, they never really felt like they were on the back foot. Yes, there was that one instance where the Transcendence was coming out, they were getting the kills, but even in a scenario like that, Dove just says, okay, 2K Pulse Bomb, we're bringing it back. Very, very convincing from Team Burrito, as they have a hefty time bank in their back pocket, a lot of cushion. And remember, match point here, Redbird Esports have a huge mountain to climb, not only to complete the map, but complete it with time so that the time bank isn't so huge in the differential.
And as they do enter onto this defensive position, Team Burrito will look to keep the same composition as we've seen. It's been very, very substantial for them. Luke Mino on this Discord using Zen to hopefully try and get that pickup. And if anything, at this point, I would like to see Redbirds to get as just a swift entry onto this position, because I think, once again, with that early aggression, can snowball their way to get a time bank just like Team Burrito.
Shout out to the Zenyatas as well, who have been really good at dealing with Tracers. Like, a lot of the times that these duels have happened, like, they have been coming out in the advantage in a couple of them. You know, Dove has had his problems with RuPaul, and then the other side, you know, Visions and Eiko has had their problems with Luke Mino as well. So these Zenyatas are really performing extremely well on this hero, who is insanely buffed at the moment. So props off to them. But again, we see Redbird Esports moving forward here. Visions back on that signature Widowmaker. We'll see if they can break this fight open.
Can't quite find the angles. Every time they look to a corner, the other pokes their head out. But with that Venom Mine deleted, that will give them knowledge that Dove is still up top. Oh, what a shot! Vision repositions and finds them on the marquee. And now with the opening, doesn't get the pickup onto Luke Mino. You got lucky that time around. As Vision goes up top, attempts to get the damage, but that shield from Rack Attack is there to keep the health value up. Tree goes down. Visions has a clear sightline onto who they have focus, and that will be Redbird Esports able to clean this up and take him down.
This is Visions absolutely popping off right now on this Widowmaker. Not only takes down the Tracer that early, takes down Lumino. I mean, Visions is on one right now. This is reminiscent of what we saw from Dove yesterday on Gibraltar, where they break open the fight at the start and never really let go. And Team Burrito, I mean, on second, it's a little bit harder for Widowmaker to get those free sight lines, so Team Burrito haven't made swaps just yet to counter it, but they still do, at some point, have to respect what Visions bring to the table.
Vision's even holding that angle, knowing that Dove could potentially push out. Are they going to get the advantage? They peek the corner, doesn't get the shot. You can see it just whiz by the dome, grazes for a haircut. And now look to push through this archway. Still a lot of opportunity for moving to play up front, but the Discorder comes out lightning fast and has to force out that immortality field to keep them alive. And now with the focus fire, they can't stick around. This pulse bomb online as well to toss into the mix. Tree's been picked up, and Redbirds now has a chance to continue just overwhelming Team Burrito.
Yeah, I mean, Team Burrito is just trying to stall as much as they can. Maybe force out some ultimates, but again, fantastic ultimate patience coming out from Redbird Esports, not throwing any ultimates into that fight. That means that with where the card is at the current moment, Rich, and with the ultimates that they have, they can easily snowball this fight win into second and match the ultimate economy that's coming in from Team Burrito here, because Team Burrito have ultimates of their own. A lot of powerful effects about to fly in this next fight.
And you can just see the patient play from the defensive side. Team Burrito. As Vision holds the angle, looking to... Oh my! It's such a scary moment. It's like just hearing the da-na, da-na, da-na. Wow! There it comes as there's a second now in line. RuPaul joining the club in the kill feed. Vision just still free-firing, even with a gentle wave to reach this next checkpoint.
I mean, there's still going to be a contest here from Team Burrito. They can try as hard as they can, but I mean, Visions is just taking down everyone at the current moment. No one is able to stop this Widowmaker, and that should be a second point cap for Redbirds.
Yep, Eiko in the back line focusing and attacking that support line. Rack Attack unable to do anything with the elimination of the stun. Dove now opts to go on to the Widowmaker to say, all right, we got to shut Vision down, and this is the position to do so.
Yeah, I mean, Visions need someone to counter them, and Dove is a Widowmaker of the caliber to be able to deal with someone like Visions and how well they're playing right now. But I mean, look at the time bank that Redbird Esports have. So much. RuPaul actually takes out Dove. That means that Visions has all the sightlines in the world they want to play with.
Yep, once again, it's the Vision show where they continue to try and get sightlines and no one able to counter it. Lumino actually just grazes Vision and managing to shut it down. So now it resets for the time being and gives an opportunity for Dove to put Vision in check once again.
I mean, this has been, like, between both of the Zenyatas, they're the ones who are really countering the other Widowmakers. It's not the Widowmaker against the Widowmaker here. It's more like Widowmaker versus Zenyatta. And again, talked about before how well these Zenyatas are performing, as we see Mikey in a position to get an engagement.
Does get taken out of the mech for the moment. Bold Transcendence just saying, hi, friends. Let's just keep everyone alive for the time being as the duplicate onto that self-destruct comes out around the corner, forces out the immortality field. Tree gets an elimination with Dove following close by. Tree just popping off and getting work done. As I say that, though.
I mean, so now Team Burrito have guaranteed themselves this larger time bank than Redbird Esports if they are able to complete the entirety of this map. Redbird Esports here coming back in, have that Ant Matrix to work forward, so they can, you know, put that in, getting a lot of space, get Vision some good sight lines, and potentially move Dove into a position he's not worried about.
Ant Matrix now up and running, giving some extra oomph to Vision. If they can just find the body, even at least. We've even got Eiko rounding the inner corner. The shots come through, and they rain so well onto the support line, eliminating them as you have now just a reduction in players. Team Burrito falling to the wayside.
Yeah, and I don't know if Team Burrito has legs to stand on in this next fight either, because you look at Eiko's got the duplicate ready available to them. There's also the self-destruct from Moving Fish. Like, Team Burrito has to make miracles happen in this next fight.
Sticky Bomb's just behind the shield, gets a lot of damage onto the support line, but will be topped up as you have Redbirds leading in with the Tracer play once again to compete against the back line. Vision takes down one support, and there's the second. You've got Eiko forcing Lumino out into the open. Dove gets one, but Vision's already done the work necessary with the coupling of Eiko's Tracer play, and this now will be a completion. If they just eliminate Tree, the recall comes through, and they've got 2 minutes on the time bank.
I mean, I talked about how it was like a huge amount of time for Redbird Esports, but I mean, Vision's essentially just said, everyone get in my backpack. We're going to complete this map. Like, just get in. Just keep me alive. We'll be totally fine. Visions absolutely went bonkers on that Widowmaker. And until, like, even the second or third point, I should say, no one really got to Visions. Not the Tracer, not anyone. This has just been the Vision show. And it's weird because against a team like Team Burrito, where you have Dove on who could play Widowmaker, like, Visions is still performing exceptionally well.
We're in Furnace. It's fiery and it's hot. So would you say it's more like Samwise Gamgee and Frodo Baggins, and basically Dove is, I mean, Vision is Sam? I think that works.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that's weird, is interesting to me is that I talked about this like at the start, where I was like, you know, when I look at Team Burrito, I see players on every angle that can, you know, take over a game, and I didn't necessarily see the same thing from Redbird Esports on paper. And then I look at what Visions has been doing this map, and I'm like, Visions is one of those players. Visions is a player who, on demand, will just say, I want to win this map. I want us to win this fight. And we'll just get like 3 kills. It's incredible how well Visions has played, and is definitely a part of why they're in a position to take this to a map finals.
Yeah, on demand is a great way to really describe it, because it has been consistently. And now, as Vision attempts to come out once again to take down Dove onto this Widow v Widow battle, but also keeping a watchful eye on the Zen focus as well. You have a little bit of a hesitation here. Redbirds, because they do have the shorter time bank, is going to be on the attack and opt to go with moving on the Sigma now.
Yeah, matching the shields is good for them, and I think they want to have the ability to create space for Visions, as, again, Dove is on the defensive end, so has a little bit potential to get those angles that Visions might not be, you know, expecting in a scenario like this. But look at Visions, he's already hitting a lot of shots.
Yeah, he's hitting a lot of shots. Tree waited so much time in that bush, not really getting much value, as you've seen Visions doing so in the counter to get that intel and to try and counteract it. And look at how Visions is playing towards this low ground position, getting these very narrow angles onto the opponents to try and find the early pickup. Eiko as well, getting this almost crossfire position up top with the tri-shot. Redbird Esports are playing this really slow until they can finally get an opening to take advantage of, but Dove gets the first and will get rid of Rupel. But Mikey also goes down.
Yeah, the tank not being here is big, because that means that there can be Redbird Esports taking so much space here with their own shield, move forward, eliminate those sightlines for Dove, and just push onto the point.
Eiko looking through the hotel, finding some shots onto Rack Attack, and Lugmino falls. Vision has been unleashed once again, and they reach this point and will transition into the streets phase.
I mean, this has been a phenomenal performance again from Redbirds. Eiko is playing with fire right here. This Team Burrito going to be looking at, if you're Redbirds here, this is, taking this is great, and everything now is icing on the cake. Like, you have Visions, who's going to have this infrared sight. You're going to be able to see any of these flanks coming through. You're going to know exactly where Dove is, and besides that, you're getting so many other ultimates all cycled off of this as well.
Tree has not been able to get into the back line. It's first either Eiko that they see, and then it's going to be Vision, and then the vent line, and now they've got Infrasight. Tree really can't do anything, and the second they push out, the Discord Orb is on them. Now with the Transcendence topped into this from Lugmino, Tree is attempting to find an angle with this Pulse Bomb to get value. The Immortality Field has been there to sustain. Team Burrito finally gets a grab onto the situation. Vision and Liar are doing what they can to survive through it. The Flux is there to counter this. Mikey gives the space, and you have this round completed, but at least they got something after taking the initial point.
I thought for a brief moment that, like, Rupel was going to turn that. Like, for the slightest of moments, I thought that after Vision got a couple of kills and Rupel did as well, I thought there was the potential for that to be switched over. But I mean, just looking at this off the stats right here, Visions has 14 elims on Widow. The next highest on their team is Eiko with 6 in terms of final blows. Like, this has been the Vision show entirely, and getting that first point, I mean, if you had told me that, like, they would have 4 points, Redbird Esports, after the offense that Team Burrito had, I would have been like, yeah, that's pretty crazy that they were able to accomplish that. But here they are doing it, and this is not a defense that is possible for them, especially with how Visions is playing.
And with Visions unleashing this type of havoc onto Team Burrito. You can see right there that golden box of victory. That is what Team Burrito needs to obtain to push onto the grand finals to face off once again against WISP. But Vision has been absolutely on a tear right now to turn this around, and they have a victory in their sights, a map 5 just around the corner, and an opportunity themselves to face off against WISP a second time.
Now they have all the sightlines to play with as well. Dove versus Visions. Visions has had the advantage, it feels like, throughout, but now Dove be on the offense looking for their own star performance on this Widowmaker as Redbird or as Team Burrito move forward here slowly. You can see Dove looking for potential picks. One pick could turn this fight around.
And look at it. You can just see Dove lurking through the hotel as a long-distance Vision position will try and compete towards the bookstore, knowing that they might just peek into it. And now if they backpedal a little bit further, get it! Dove goes down! Vision finds it! You shouldn't backpedal into the open space! With the immortality field down, now it leaves only Rack Attack underneath the statue, a sitting duck, and Redbirds is going to open the floodgates.
Patience pays off in spades for Vision. They're able to take down Dove. Dove was about to, I thought they were going to go back to the Sojourn there, but instead go back to the Widowmaker. Need to have the ability to counteract, as you can see Tree in the backline trying to find that Widowmaker, but you can also see, I mean, look around, like Aiko is always just looking for where Tree is, making sure that they aren't able to just free farm onto that Widowmaker, and this time bank for Team Burrito is windowless.
Pings coming through to make sure the Discord Orb is onto moving so they can get that extra damage for Tree to get the Pulse Bomb as Vision drops back down to their default position as we saw earlier. No one moving out into that open sight line, though Dove is not going to get outmatched a second time in the same position. As you have Vision steam them in that archway in the back, just waiting for someone to poke out. Tree aggressively goes underneath, has the Pulse Bomb, just dwindling the health value of moving, but has to force the recall. They're being overwhelmed. Team Burrito is looking to get onto this position, but it's still an opportunity for Redbirds to collapse down. Pulse Bomb comes in. Aiko gets the melee. The Pulse Bomb is actually eaten, but there's still so much value gained, and Vision is just free firing from the back as an extra player.
Oh, and I mean, again, this fight is lasting so long that it's only a minute and 20 seconds left. And again, fantastic peel that we've been seeing from Moving Fish every time that they have been in position, or someone like one of their supports has been in a position of danger, always blanketing them with that defense matrix. Team Burrito have not been able to get the value off of the Tracer that they wanted. And now only a minute left in their time bank. Pulse Bomb available for Tree. Transcendence for Luke Mito to match the one coming out from Rupel. It's getting towards that do or die moment, Rich.
Ooh, Dove looking for those sights. Can't quite get the shot necessary. Tree once again with the Pulse Bomb now alive and ready to see if they can get something. They have to open it up. Dove is eliminated. And now the Pulse Bomb is eaten. Redbird Esports have come out once again. They've done it in previous tournaments, and they're doing it now. They are managing to be able to hold on. Vision gets them instantly. The second Transcendence drops, and now 30 seconds are all that remain.
And I mean, it's going to be a miracle needed here for Team Burrito because they use their Transcendence. Rupel now has one in an advantage. Sights available for Visions, Pulse Bomb available for Echo, and on the other side you have an Ant Matrix and a Gravitic Flux, and this is your last fight here. Someone on Team Burrito has to make a miracle play happen.
Yep, and they're going to have Infrared. They know everything going into this. Redbirds is prepped and ready, but there is also the counter from Dove. Discord instantly onto them. Shot line is there, but they don't manage to get it. Dove's taken down by moving. Vision has been harassed, and they don't actually touch Redbirds, able to bring this into a map 5 for this losers final. And my goodness, they are a absolute ravaging beast when they are forced into a corner.
Never count out Redbirds down 0-2. Just never do it. We need to learn as a community that Redbirds down 0-2 is their power spike, it feels like. Every single time. This is a team that will never, ever say die. Visions ended this, by the way, in our stats brought to you by Champria here, 18 rather.
It just updated, right?
To 8 deaths. I mean, what an amazing performance from this Widowmaker player. Almost got the 20 piece. Unreal. I gotta give huge credit to Moving Fish, who didn't necessarily show up in the kill feed a lot. However, I think it was an absolutely fantastic diva performance, blanketing the supports with the defense matrix. Also, a couple of dives at the end where they saw that Dove was just by themselves, they just dove onto him with Eiko, and they
Yeah.
were securing kills. Unreal play from the main tank player, and hats off to them coming in for Gig. And now we do have that map 5.
It's like going to our typical standard. It's a best of 5, 2 maps. You go to a break. Redbird Esports takes the Zenzu bean, comes back in. They're even stronger. That's every time right now, it seems, whenever we have them in a best of 5. So that is what gives them much favoritism, as it is a 2-2. And now we get to enter back in to a map of control. Map 5, the deciding factor. Who will be able to elevate themselves to compete against WISP? And I mean, seriously, Vision right now has absolutely stepped up the game. You commented on it. The stats are unbelievable. And again, we have to give super shout outs to Champrio.gg, who has been able to provide that information. And, you know, at this point, going into map 5, anything can happen. The only question, though, is, since now it might not see the Widowmaker, is Redbird Esports in a position to actually take this?
Well, it's interesting because we could go to Oasis as our last control, which is a
That is
Widowmaker
true.
map, and Visions
That is
has
true.
been unreal on the Widowmaker, especially if we do go to something like Ruins and we get that. And it is going to be Oasis as our fifth map,
Ooh, okay.
So now the question is, which submaps do we roll? Because if we roll Ruins, I would expect Redbirds and how they've been playing recently to probably opt in for, you know, the Diva, bring in Visions on that Widowmaker. Doesn't seem like he's threatened at all by anything on the other side, and just will be able to carry the team in some aspect. But on the other side, we did see Dove yesterday have a phenomenal performance on Gibraltar on their Widowmaker. We need to see some of that again because of the way Visions has been playing. But again, I mean, there are the other submaps of Oasis as well where Widowmaker might not work as well, and then Redbird Esports have to switch it up a bit.
Yeah, and with the luck of the dice, I mean, it's all up to RNG, friends. I think all of us in the gamer world know that sometimes can be a real harsh realization. So at this point, Redbirds are playing the game that they can and hoping for the best. I know, right? Yeah, right.
Coin flip.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a very scary mistress to really be able to look into that and be just like, all right, what are we gonna roll, friends? I'm looking for box cars. That's not gonna happen. All right, I just lost all my money. And we're going into, like we said, that Oasis. 2 maps so far for Burrito and 2 now for Redbirds, and this has been a very lengthy match, and we still have another best of 5 after this, friend.
Yeah, but there's the grand finals. I mean, this feels like grand finals match in and of itself, and this is Oasis, so it's not Ilios like I was thinking about with Ruins. So kind of have to look a little bit to this, and Widowmaker works on, I mean, theoretically, Widowmaker can work on a couple of these maps, but they're a lot more like enclosed. I think if we go to something like University, it's very much an enclosed map where Widowmaker might not have the same advantage on like much more open maps in Oasis as we do go to our first submap here, map 5, Rich. Deciding factor.
Can I just interject? I've never actually paid as much attention to this map from this angle. These cars are going real fast.
Have you never played car dodgeball here?
No, I mean, no. It's
like,
one
of the best custom games.
I mean, it's just, I looked at it from this angle, and like now I just never paid attention. But what we're going to pay attention to is the fact that this is now, like you mentioned, map 5 going head to head, and who's going to go to grand finals.
We see Dove is going to be on that Soldier 76, and having that long range advantage can put some pressure onto Eiko in the air, who is going to be on that Echo. But Team Burrito going back to their tried and true. This is what got them here. This is what they're going to end potentially with on this map 5 of control to get to the grand finals.
You can see Ripple really trying to hug that wall to not give themselves exposure. With Eiko up top as well, looking to get some sticky bombs and damage from on high onto the supports. Great land so far, but Lukemino's going to elude and evade that with the fade. At this point, you actually have Team Burrito really dominating this position. They managed to take it first. They haven't really gotten too low in a danger or critical position, but as I say that, Rupel gets the takedown onto Lukemino, and Rack Attack now will have a real challenge to keep this team alive. And Redbirds, even though they're going to give up the initial percentage, will be able to clean this up and take it back.
Yeah, they're just going to try and stall as much percentage from this as they possibly can here with Tree and with Rack Attack dancing. Probably will get it towards that 25%, but I mean, they're actually recontesting here. Lukemino's around. Do they get back onto this point?
Going to be able to get onto it to hold it for even a little bit more percentage. Dove actually gets a pickup. Pulse Bomb comes out to take down the counter Tracer in the TVT battle for what you will say it might be. I'm actually giving major credit to Team Burrito right now. They are stalling this out extensively, despite it looking like Redbirds rightfully should have had that.
And they're getting ults as well. Rack is so close towards that sound barrier as well. That could be huge in turning this fight.
Team Burrito resilient on this position. The sticky bomb comes in for dub. Aiko's being forced back by Rack Attack with that Reddit Lucio aggression, and now piecing them his way into this with now the duplicate onto the Winston, attempting to get this primal rage to still continue to hold on to this.
I mean, I can't believe that Team Burrito have held on to this for so long, and they still have Attack Visor to work with in this next fight.
If they come out miraculously winning this, that's absolutely phenomenal. And Aiko finally goes down. Team Burrito is absolutely a god on this round and has been able to hold strong and keeps this, mind you.
I mean, look at how small of a sliver is left in that. They were like 1 millimeter away from picking that up, Redbird, and now Team Burrito are in last fight territory. We've only had 2 fights this entire submap, Rich.
Yeah, unreal. This Team Burrito goes in aggressively forward, just really keeping distance. Vision in the back, going to be the solo player to steal it away. The dive back onto it. Tree's going to recognize that they need to eliminate Vision in the back, who has the pulse bomb, but is getting topped up by the supports. Rupal and Lyre moving down into the front line position to give the assistance necessary as moving is there. Rupal goes down. Coalescence to follow. Both supports eliminated. It does get swapped, but you no longer have a way to keep your team alive. And Team Burrito come out like molten lava. Nothing in their path will be able to stop its momentum, and they take this first round.
I mean, Tree got, I think he started that fight with Pulse Bomb and ended. Oh, he didn't have Pulse Bomb. He just one-clipped Rupal. Like, absolutely one-clipped Rupal. And when Rupal had like 96% ultimate, if that Transcendence is available to go in that fight, there's a chance that Redbird Esports can turn that. But what a clutch play from Team Burrito. And clutching it up again, making that recontest, having the cojones to decide we're going to continue this fight. Absolutely unreal performance from them as we go into our second map here. And this is where I start to get a little bit worried, because this is a map where it's a lot more enclosed. Team Burrito seem to thrive in these kind of brawly style of compositions. In a map like this, and Redbird Esports bringing out the Doomfist, offering a little bit of, you know, counter towards that dive that's going to be coming in from Team Burrito.
And also just the mental right now. Redbird Esports probably rattled by that last round going into now University. This moment where they have to, once again, they already were having to reverse sweep it when it came into this overall map series, but now having to doing it in this round-to-round win. Team Burrito gets clipped by Rupal with the bio nade, but they were able to sustain on that high ground position, not getting eliminated as Aiko couldn't find an angle, so they tried to shoot damage through this initial archway. Wait for this contention. Team Burrito playing a little bit more reserve here as they finally collapse down to the position to take this initial point. With Redbird Esports maining the skies for now, they let it go once again, but they can't allow this to happen a second time where they get overwhelmed. Tree takes down Aiko, and that will be Team Burrito once again claiming dominance.
And I mean, again, this is what I was talking about. This is a little bit more of an enclosed map, and Aiko on the Echo, if we're in these enclosed areas, it's so hard for them to get value, and if they make one wrong move, the entirety of Team Burrito just dives onto them and takes them out. Percentage ticking up now, 20% and ticking up for this team. You can see Redbird Esports, I mean, making wholesale swaps over to a similar composition. Yeah. They know they need some sustainability with their support lines, but now they're behind the 8-ball a little bit, because you look at the ultimate charge for Team Burrito, they're so far ahead.
Yep, and with the reduction in pace to gain these ultimates, it is a real scare in how significant this play has to be. Moving up front, it's very overwhelmed, has to draw back using that defensive gauntlet to maintain some health value up front, with the supports continuing to fuel that healing necessary. Nice high ground position to dislodge Dub from the upper ground, but as they enter into the mix, the Coalescence is there to save them as Rack Attack takes down Aiko because the damage was too high from the Coalescence, 55+% at the moment, and Team Burrito could find themselves in the same scenario as round one.
And this is when you kind of have to take on the chin if you're Redbird Esports here. You were just so far behind the 8-ball in terms of that ultimate economy. Coalescence came out. Good patience from Rack Attack to not use Sound Barrier, knowing that if they can cycle these ultimates effectively, they can just win out from this next fight. And you look at Redbird Esports, they're going to have a Coalescence. They're going to have basically all their ultimates besides the Death Blossom, and they're going to need some sustainability on Team Burrito to deal with that.
Moving Fish goes instantly onto the backline. Meteor Strike comes out as well, looking to synergize with Aiko in the back, eliminating Dub. Rack attack with the sound barrier though from Team Burrito, sustaining, and this aggression from Mikey collapses with Tree onto Moving Fish. It's all up to the DPS once again. We've seen it time and time before. Are they able to pull out this victory? The scrappy fight is heavily in favor of Team Burrito as we enter into the overtime. Mikey, the Tesla cannon, continuing to fuel this front side. Health bars low across the side. Rupel can't get the healing out in time as they are just swapping for that extra healing juice to keep this team going. And now, in these final moments, Team Burrito comes out on top. They stop Redbirds from reaching their full potential. They've not gone Super Saiyan, and they will be brought down with GG's in the chat.
A valiant effort from Redbird Esports, even getting it to a map 5, but Team Burrito go back to all reliable. The composition that got him here towards that grand finals, and they will be taking a 3-2 victory and going to be facing the run it back with WISP in that grand final.
Deja vu from yesterday as we will see those two face off against one another. But as you mentioned, major props and hats off here for Redbird Esports, managing to bring them into a map 5. They are resilient, they are driven, they continue to be able to elevate themselves, but unfortunately at this point just falling short of that goal line this time. But we will be for sure seeing them in many more things ahead of us, Kenobi. That is one factor here. And with what they're able to do in Overwatch 2 so far, they've got a bright future. But for now, the future looks even brighter for Team Burrito. And I cannot wait to see how it's going to go into this grand finals, Kenobi.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anything like yesterday, we're in for a banger. Hopefully not another C9 to the caliber that we saw yesterday. you know, keep those few and far between. But yeah, I mean, besides that, it was a absolutely phenomenal matchup. I can't wait for the DPS matchup again that we're going to be seeing between both these teams, between WISP, between Team Burrito. Absolutely going to be a slobber knocker, so you definitely don't want to go anywhere, Rich.
No, we don't want to go anywhere, but we do have to take a small break for the moment, so don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a pause, grab some food, grab some drink, or if you'd also like in your spare time, you can definitely head over to Esports Tower for only $5 a week, the same cost of a Frappuccino, that drink I just mentioned. Esports Tower will pair you with the professional coaches and a team of committed players. Twice a week, you'll practice and prepare for bi-weekly competitive events. They are also industry inside talks, how-to workshops, and networking events that give you exclusive access to pro players, general managers, collegiate coaches, and of course, scouts. No other amateur club does more to help you improve your skills as well as get you connected and considered for colleges and career opportunities. And they are a massive, great sponsor to be a part of this Natter X community beta clash. So as I mentioned, go take a look at it. Esports Tower, get your food, get your snack. We're looking forward to this grand finals, and I cannot wait to see who takes the gold.
Hey guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the tournament. I just want to take 1 second to talk about something that sort of resonates with me. Growing up, my family wasn't super, supportive of video gaming and esports and whatnot, as most families are not. My parents really wanted me just to study really hard, or play real sports like soccer and whatnot. So I didn't really have, a way to, play with other friends or, meet people online. So I've actually partnered with Esports Tower. Esports Tower is a club level program for students that are 13 to 18 years. It's a year-round program where essentially students get 3.5 hours of coaching a week, and you get opportunities to play in tournaments and meet other influencers in a particular game. So I'll be offering a 2-week free trial to that program. And if you want to keep going, I believe it's like $5, so it's pretty affordable. But I highly suggest checking it out. I honestly wish going back, if I had these options, like to just like do a club and sort of like meet people or like-minded, I think I really would have enjoyed that. As well as they also, help, high schoolers meet colleges, and maybe look at collegiate scholarships, which I think is really huge. So yeah, definitely check them out, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the tournament.
What's up, everybody? Chef Billy back here with you with Map 5 Podcast, and I've got Rocket in the booth with me here today. Rocket, why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are?
What's up? I'm Rocket. I'm the HitsCan DPS for WISP. And yeah, I mean, HitsCan might be a little bit of a stretch. I mainly play a lot of Tracer right now, but maybe one day I'll open up my hero pool. We'll see. But yeah, that's basically all there is to me.
Well, speaking about playing Overwatch, we've got a beta out there, and we know that you have been practicing a lot on the beta, getting ready for, potential Path to Pro stuff coming up. So, what's your favorite part of the beta so far?
I think my favorite part of the beta so far is the amount of people that are coming back to play Overwatch again. The game has I have felt that it's been great, like 2020, 2021, all of that. It's been a great game, but for the general public and people who aren't necessarily super into the Path to Pro, coming back to see like the game again one more time, and seeing what like really has changed. I won't lie, the player base maybe did take a little bit of a dip, like 2019, 2020. Everyone's coming back now. It feels like the old days, and it's like quite interesting. That's definitely my favorite part, though.
What would you like to see in the next step of the beta here for Overwatch 2?
I think the most obvious one for me as a pro player would be ranked. I think although quick play is fun, and I think it's good to get the ball rolling with quick play, ranked is something that's going to be necessary. I think in the next generation. Especially for the pro players mainly because the Overwatch League going on, contenders players want to practice. Everyone wants to practice, and sometimes it's just not optimal to play quick play against plot players, diamond players. No hate on them. It's just optimal practice creates optimal results. So I think that's definitely the main thing I'd hope to see next beta.
So, what would you say to people who are skeptical about the first beta that came out?
I think there's not really. I mean, obviously there are things to be skeptical. One new hero, only a few new maps. It does seem a little bit daunting at first to see. These guys took like 3 years or 4 years to give us all this. But I think there's a lot more in store in the future. And I think if we can maybe keep a more open mind, look towards the future. I think there will be a lot of great things in store for us. And this isn't the end all be all. The beta ends relatively soon. Before we know it, the next one will roll out, and after that, who knows when the game will come out? But I'm sure it'll be a great piece of work once it's finally released.
This is where you get to have a little bit of a spicy take. If you could make one improvement to our Path to Pro system as it stands right now, what would it be?
I think this one might be a little bit of a distant take, but I really would like to see more representation from the Asia Pacific and Japan, like all the other Asia Pacific, like South America again, especially too. I think especially in games like Valorant, we're seeing third-party regions that not like your big ones like your Europe, your Korea, your NA. These like underdog regions like Asia Pacific and South America are really like coming in and showing off like what they can do. And I think if we give that chance maybe one more time to the Overwatch community, especially with the new game coming out, people coming back from those regions who could potentially be interested. And I think that'd be one of the greatest improvements we can make, opening up international lands maybe with players from those regions, something like a gauntlet with, representation from like Pan Asia Pacific area, like Indonesia, all South America, all those regions. I think it would really just make the game feel more international and less kind of restricted, as not to say it is now, but I think it definitely would be, an interesting thing to see them bring back.
Sure.
I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be awesome to see, and there's so much talent that's untapped there that I think would be really interesting to give those players kind of a gateway to where they don't have to play in like OCE contenders on like 140 ping or Korean contenders where it's a lot more difficult. Give them a platform to where they can really prove themselves. I think it'd be interesting to see the amount of talent that could come out of those regions.
We like the international feel and the inclusivity of our game. Hopefully that can come back. I actually really like that take coming from you. So anything that you want to say out to Natter's community, out to the community at whole before we let you go?
Not much. I mean, thanks everyone for watching. Was 100 and something participants in this tournament. It's insane for an Overwatch Open tournament. I'm glad everyone's coming together to play the game again. And I hope everyone enjoys the stream.
Well, thank you so much, Rocket, for spending a little bit of your night with us.
Yep.
But that's going to do it for us here. I'm Chef Billy with Map 5. Now back to the action at Natter's Beta Overwatch Tournament.
All right, we are back here with another interview. My name's Jeff from Map 5 Podcast. I'm here with that AFK noob joining us for a little chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time to do this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is that AFK noob, or AFK for short. I'm the current team manager for Altiora's Contenders team. I've also worked with a bunch of other Tier 3 teams in the past, Kaizen, Gaia, among others.
So my first question is then, what's been your favorite part about the beta so far?
I think my favorite part about the beta is just seeing how the community has come together to enjoy something so much. I haven't seen the Overwatch community active like this in a very long time. I remember when the beta first dropped, we made a pug server, myself and J-Bubs, and it got like 300 people within the first couple days, like immediately. And everyone was constantly active, playing the game, talking with each other. It's such a joy to just see the community so revitalized and rejoicing over the beta.
What would you like to see added as we get into new iterations in the beta? What would you want to see put in?
What I would want to see put in, I think the biggest thing would be comp, as many people have probably said so far, just because it makes things more competitive. More people want to play a competitive game if there is a competitive mode. Other than that, I think all the changes that have been made are very interesting, and honestly, I'm just excited to see where the balance team and the dev team take things as they take in more feedback.
What is it about adding comp that you think would help take it to the next level?
So I think there's two things. Number one is you get players matched at more even skill levels, so it creates like stronger competition. It's more enjoyable to play the game, and even more so than that, people just enjoy looking at like an SR number and they win a game. Like they win a game of quick play. It's fun, but it might be a little bit less satisfying. Whereas if you win a game of competitive, you see, oh, I've gotten 20 something SR. Woohoo, whoop-de-dee. And people have like an internal or external, I guess, incentive to climb and like play the game more. And I think that is what drives a lot of people to play the game more.
What is one improvement that you would like to see in Path to Pro moving into Overwatch 2?
I think if there's one improvement that I'd want to see, it would be more opportunities, whether that be through more spots or more frequent tournaments, for a little bit of intermingling between Tier 2 and Tier 3. I think one complaint that people have had in the past is that Tier 2 feels somewhat gatekept from the rest of the competitive scene.
Yeah.
So I think doing something like adding more contender spots, for example, is a very good idea. Like adding more contender spots or doing more frequent tournament cycles gives a lot of opportunities for Tier 3 teams to make their way up to Tier 2. And also, because there are a lot more returning Tier 2 players who have previously retired, and also a lot of new teams, because everything's been shaken up with Overwatch 2. There's all new teams, all new players, all different skill ranges. It'll give having like more opportunities to prove themselves would give players a lot more reason to grind the game, and I think overall it'll be a very positive change.
What is one thing that you would hope to see overall in this new era of Overwatch?
If there's one thing I'd hope to see, it would be the community just coming together again and enjoying the game. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what balance patch we're on, regardless of what meta we're on, what tournament's going on, as long as I enjoy the game the most. I think most people can agree with me on this, that we enjoy the game the most when the community is the most active and when everyone is enjoying themselves. So I think I'm excited to see how people integrate into the beta and how Blizzard will support the beta, and hopefully brings a lot of people back and keeps people excited and motivated to keep playing the game.
Well, that is all the questions I had for you. Any final thoughts here on Overwatch 2 before we close this out?
Real quick, shout out to my Altiora boys. Hope you kick ass in the tournament. And otherwise, I'm excited to see what the rest of the tournament has in store.
Oh yeah, you me both, my friend. Well, there you go. Thank you, AFK. I appreciate you taking time to do this. It's been a great chat, and now we're gonna get back to more of the Natter beta clash. We'll see you back here next time.
Welcome back, friends. It is a pleasure to continue being here with you as we've seen the losers finals. Now we transition to the main event, the grand stage for the grand finals. Kenobi, we have seen this already once before. Do you think that the times are going to change and maybe Team Burrito has been able to elevate themselves with that match against Redbirds to face off against WISP?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, momentum definitely could play a factor here where Team Burrito have just gone through the gauntlet against, Redbird Esports, almost getting reverse swept, but just in that map 5, able to hold off. And WISP, I mean, we did see them yesterday have a great performance against Team Burrito. It was very back and forth. We did have that C9 of C9s in that first map, but I mean, we'll have to see because I think that WISP specifically, what I really liked about them was their DPS. I think Rocket is someone who I, going into this was, not too aware of, but now I'm, fully aware. Rocket is absolutely a star, and I think that DPS matchup between King and Rocket and Dove and Tree is going to be incredibly impactful.
Yeah, they've really kind of taken our breath away on a couple of occasions where we're just like, oh, okay, I wasn't ready for that. And those kind of surprising moments is something really exciting to see. And, going into this again, we will start in the same position of control. Though, in this case, we are not actually going to be starting on Lijiang Tower. We are going to be starting on Oasis. So where we ended our losers finals is where we begin grand finals. And with this adjustment too, we'll get to see a little bit of a variation with what they want to bring into this, since we did see Lijiang Tower yesterday. And what we've already seen so far is Team Burrito on this map of control is a brawly force.
Yes. Yeah, I think this is very good for Team Burrito to start things off, right? They just played Oasis, they can play it again here. They honestly just have to replicate what they did against Redbird Esports, and they should be able to win this because it was a phenomenal performance from them. So I think that this definitely is good for Team Burrito's sake in terms of just being able to, take the momentum from the previous series and move it into this series.
Yes, indeed. And, with what we've seen so far, at least from WISP yesterday, the nice thing is WISP actually has the chance to have sitting back, evaluate their opponents, get some scrim time in, practice up, and can really digest what they're looking to go in against Team Burrito and if they're going to waver away from what they saw yesterday. So they feel definitely very knowledgeable about what Team Burrito can bring into this. We've highlighted Dove, and especially how Vision was trying to also put that in check, which Vision popped off on for the moment, but still Team Burrito managed to claim the win. But also just this support line in the back, the value that they're bringing, the contribution to these overall engagements, and solidifying and securing takedowns as a whole.
And as we talk about the players, we can kind of look at the rosters here a little bit between both of these teams. One of the things that we do have to mention is that I think Mikey is still playing tank for Team Burrito here. That was something that they didn't have yesterday when we saw this matchup. So if that does end up coming true, keep an eye on that matchup, the difference between what Rhino brought to the table and the difference between what Mikey will be bringing to the table. But on WISP, I mean, you look at all of their roster here. CJ, we saw it even in the last series where Zenyatta's incredibly impactful in dealing with duels against Tracers. CJ was doing that yesterday in spades, so that duel between them and Rack Attack, or them and Luke Camino against Rocket, against Tree, against Dove, whoever is going to be opting in for the Tracer, also going to be something to look out for.
Yeah, and then also looking at their partner in crime, Vega, the saving grace Brig plays that we saw on push, managing to completely claim that victory on what would have been a very devastating return from Team Burrito. The support line is someone that I really keep looking at as well. I know you highlighted King and Rocket specifically because of what we were able to see with them in tandem, but this support line too, they're so well coordinated. They have a really lucrative, cohesive play in this team. And even like we mentioned before, is when we look at this roster and we look at WISP, majority, if not almost all of them, have been with WISP for an extended period of time. They've played amongst these individuals for a longer period, whereas with Team Burrito, they've kind of come from a little bit of a different avenues here and there, the collegiate realm,
I mean,
from Odyssey and others. It's Odyssey.
We can't technically call it that.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
it's the Odyssey core, let's say, from Team Burrito. But WISP, from what we saw from them yesterday, we did see, like, again, I think Rocket definitely showed themselves to be one of the key factors in a lot of those fights, on the Tracer specifically. It felt like there were times where it was just like, oh, Rocket, like, yeah, they're behind and Rocket just comes back, 2k pulse bomb, the fight's completely even. So we'll see if that is going to come around again, or if, with a change, bringing Mikey in, is there some swaps in play from how Team Burrito will be able to deal with Rocket?
Yeah, and I mean, Rocket's been on a tear on multiple occasions. And the other part is the synergy also with, this tank line, just being able to play so well with King on this front position and Crowy specifically, even like we saw just their almost fluid liquid just transitions in flankings and just ability to outplay this back line is so clean on most occasions. Really, there are the only few times that we ever saw Team Burrito be able to punish such re-engagements or flanking maneuvers, but the only times that they did, they still had a ton of casualties.
Yeah, I think Crawley definitely showed to me kind of what the D.Va can do at when it's like being played to the max level. Like, I think Crawley had a very good D.Va yesterday. It was definitely impactful in shutting down some of the times, or some of the DPS and some of the engagements that we were seeing from the other side in Team Burrito here, Rich.
Yes, indeed. And it actually does look like we do have a technical issue for one of the players, so we will be heading to a short break here to make sure that they are online. We do seem to have confirmation right there below. Mikey does have internet issues, so we want to give them just enough time to make sure that they can get themselves organized, because this is grand finals and you never want to go in having an internet connection. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be right back with this first game. We return, gamers, and while we were away, I had the very unfortunate news of learning that Kenobi has no idea what Geometry Wars is.
I don't know if any of I wonder how much of the chat knows what Geometry.
That's why I'm asking. So for those of you that do know Geometry Wars, please add us on Twitter. They're right there. They're like give him some crap. Well, he's over there. Give him some crap. I'm kidding. I love him to death. But no, like I listened to the music on the break, and I was like, oh man, this sounds like Geometry Wars. And then all of a sudden he's like, what's that?
I don't know when the game came out, but like I've never heard about Geometry Wars ever.
It's okay.
It sounds like a math game, like one of those math games that you would do like in school. Like that's what it sounds like.
It's absolutely everything but math. It's amazing, but anyways, you'll have to add us on Twitter. Absolutely. No, we will play some Geometry Wars. But what is more important is that we finally had reconnection. We are on this map of Oasis. It is grand finals for this amazing Natter X community beta clash, as we will have it open up between these two. The second chance for Team Burrito to claim the victory as these doors open.
Go run it back here in WISP. I mean, bring to the table. Rocket on that Tracer against Tree. What a matchup we have in the TVT. But again, Team Burrito have that sustainability with their composition. Again, waiting for those perfect moments to get that engage. We're going to be looking at Crawley and Vega to be able to peel for those squishy backliners, specifically CJ. Keep them alive so they can pump out the damage with those Discords.
Discord lightning fast onto Mikey out the gate until they do have a sightline onto Tree to see if they can eliminate them quickly and prevent that harassment in the back from continuing to pursue. Dove finding a nice angle, lots of shots onto King. Rockets go through but doesn't land. And you will have WISP able to re-engage this after they top their squad back up and having a decent coverage for the time being, with Mikey sticking very close to the support line and making sure that they don't get blown to bits with the Discord as the aggression comes out. Green means go. They've swapped the point, forcing back WISP. And Mikey, this ebb and flow is so clean.
Yeah, I mean, no one has really swapped it out yet, but it actually is finally Team Burrito who get it. But Rocket's coming back in with a Pulse Bomb relatively soon here. But on the other side, Luke Mino's got that Coalescence. In the meantime, if Rocket can maybe find that Coalescencing Moira with that Pulse Bomb, that could be the turnaround WISP might need to win a fight.
Dove is getting some serious clean shots onto a lot of the bodies here to generate that ultimate quickly. Pulse Bomb goes to the side, doesn't manage to stick. Tree is still unleashing damage and should have the tactical visor as Luke Mino enters in with the Coalescence. The orb takes down CJ. There's no way to survive. Vega's no longer in the mix either, and that's Team Burrito still holding this, again, just like it was with Esports.
And what I really love with this composition coming out from Team Burrito is their ability to play it like slowly. Like they know the break points. They know they can just have Dove kind of on the flanks or at long range. And realistically, who from WISP besides maybe CJ hitting a volley can get to Dove? And even if it's like, you know, Rocket has to hit a Pulse Bomb. You can't one-clip the Soldier. He's going to use his healing pad, going to be able to run away to the rest of his team. Team Burrito just playing this perfectly, pacing-wise, 60% and ticking up for them. Pulse Bomb at the ready, as well as the Sound Barrier.
And now King has to hide for the moment because that tactical visor is online, activated quickly, pressing forward. Nice elusive play to elude the damage, but unfortunately it's going to be focusing onto Crowley's mech. The sound barrier shall ensure this forward positioning, overwhelming WISP despite them committing the transcendence from CJ. King with this duplicate onto the Winston play for the Primal Rage is going to cause some mayhem and chaos, but it's not really going to do anything for the percentage gain. There's still Team Burrito on this point, reaching this close to 99%.
Crawley's gonna have self-destruct though. Rocket's coming back with Pulse Bomb. There is that possibility to turn this fight and break it open, but Vega's getting so low. Can they get the kill?
Ooh, nope. Oh, there it is. Mikey comes in with a jump, able to land on it. Crowley swaps it though, as we saw like yesterday, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be able to hold for much longer with the collapse back from Team Burrito. They've got the sauce and they've got the beans, and they're wanting to take it instantly away from WISP so they can't manage to feel comfy on this point.
Yeah, Crawley just trying to juggle. Will get remake. Actually falls off the high ground, so they aren't able to do so, and it's flipped back to Team Burrito. It's just stalls at this point for WISP. Pulse Bomb not able to find anything for Tree, but I don't think realistically WISP has a way back into this fight here, Rich. It's going to be 1-0 lead on this map. Coalescence to secure everything, and again, Team Burrito, I mean, realistically, how many fights did they take? They took like 3, maybe 4, and they played around it so perfectly well. I just love the way that when they play this comp, they understand their breakpoints, understand the timings that they need playing around the geometry of just that little area in the middle, not letting themselves get poked out, not letting Rocket, for instance, do what he was doing to them yesterday. Really well played from Team Burrito to start this off.
Yeah, this is a fire burning in the belly right now of Team Burrito as they have managed to just take the same momentum that they had on this. It's all over again, just playing it to a T and putting WISP into a very uncomfortable position right out the gate. And they're not feeling nearly as warm as Team Burrito has after going a full 5 maps.
Yeah, I mean, momentum is definitely a possibility here where it's like Team Burrito's warmed up. I mean, warmed up on this map. They literally played this one before against Redbird Esports, and they just have it in the back of their minds how to do this. WISP opting in for something a little different here on this map. DPS are going to be the same. Crawley's going to be going over to that Doomfist again, offering a little more disruption, potentially get into that backline, make Mikey's life a little bit more scary if he decides to go in, can get punched away, you know, kind of trade cooldown for cooldown in that scenario and take away some of the space.
And we'll see if WISP is able to play a composition like this more effectively over Team Burrito, as it was not something that Redbirds were able to prevail over. WISP at this point with Crowley up front on the Doomfist, initially going to try and get a pickup onto the backline, but instantly will retreat and fall towards the position. What a land! The damage comes in initially from the back high ground, and then Dove blown to bits in the wall, crushed amongst the gauntlet. And Crowley is just drawing near this doorway because at this point it's still Team Burrito with dominant numbers and not yet going down.
I mean, King went down so early, though, that there wasn't the damage. Rocket can just pepper in from the sides, but the Lucio and the Moira are going to be able to heal through it, so WISP not really having the damage to follow up on the punches Crowley was making. And look at Team Burrito coming in on that Coalescence relatively soon. Rocket, though, Pulse Bomb could be the answering number.
Yeah, the Pulse Bomb has to gain value in this next engagement because the support ultimates are online. CJ just about to reach it, finally gets it. And now activated instantly to try and give the assistance to King as the focusing beam comes out onto Dove on the high ground. Doesn't manage to do anything with the assistance from Rack Attack in the back. And you will have Team Burrito still, as they've done already, dominantly take this despite some of the early pitfalls.
And I mean, again, it's just the positioning that they have. Dove is actually switching back over to the Sombra, which is interesting. We haven't seen Sombra too much. We've seen it a little bit in Overwatch League, but not something I was expecting too much. Offers that ability to get the hacks onto that Doomfist and just make Crawley's life even more miserable than it has been throughout this map so far.
And you can see looking for that long-range grab. Doesn't manage to get the hack onto Crowley, but Rocket still yields value as there's quite a bit of damage put to that. 25% already for Dove in this with a sound barrier to give extra fortification for Team Burrito to sustain onto this point. Crowley underneath in the doorway looking to try and get somebody into the wall, but can't find anything but the crevice as a beautiful Meteor Strike comes in onto Luke Mino. Now it's only Rack Attack to keep them alive, and as a Lucio player, that's never a good feeling when so many are spread across this court. 76% still climbing, but Team Burrito, I'm actually giving them some tremendous props right now for continuing to hold this despite losing their main support.
Yeah, I mean, stalling it to 82 is pretty good. It's almost on the verge of that last 5 territory win and you're in, win and you win the map type deal for them. And with how, you know, WISP haven't really had that much percentage, they can just farm up some of these ultimates and go in with something like an EMP and just win off the back of that. It's not as good as it was in Overwatch 1, but it still has a lot of value.
Wow, Tree almost got clipped out there with that last shotgun shell, but manages to get the recall. Pulse Bomb clips the wall.
Vega!
Actually still gets Vega! Oh my, that's not what you want to see as WISP is going to be overrun, but CJ with the Coalescence attempting to equalize. Rocket gets the shutdown onto Luke Mino and also having Dove thrown to the wayside. Team Burrito will have to fall back once again.
But now Team Burrito are going to have the Coalescence to work with, and WISP, I mean, it's at them, at their point right now. The ball is in their court to hold this as much as they can. They have they have a Reaper Death Blossom to work with. They also have the Sound Barrier. Sustainability is there for them. If Crowley can get towards this Meteor Strike, he can play a little more aggressive, but here comes an aggression from Team Burrito.
Yep, Luke Mino aggressively moving into that with a Coalescence to try and force back King, who does have to proc the recall. No longer has that, and only the dashes remaining, and finding a side angle here where the Pulse Bomb needs to get that online to keep this into WISP's favor. Backing off with a small health pack, Rack Attack goes aggressive and gets Rocket, so this is numbers advantage for Team Burrito. The Pulse Bomb doesn't land. You needed that for WISP as a sound barrier from Vega comes in to keep the team alive. Crowley almost blown to bits. The Meteor Strike saves them for the time being, and they actually have to use it defensively. The Sticky Bombs almost take him down.
Oh, and it swaps over as well, and now, I mean, Team Burrito are just going to go aggressive here. They want to get these stragglers. Rack Attack is popping off.
They are blitzing everyone that remains from WISP. They are just overrunning everyone. That is a absolute onslaught here for Team Burrito. No one can touch. They've come out with such a vengeance that they will take this map 1.
Yeah, Burrito here feeling like they want some of that revenge against WISP from what happened yesterday. I mean, again, fantastic performance that we saw from the DPS duo of Team Burrito. I also thought Mikey kind of bringing themselves into this tank role has really helped out. Like, the Winston play has been phenomenal. The timings from the team has just been absolutely unreal. Like, if they can play this composition throughout, like, the entirety of the series, like, I find it very difficult that they would ever lose because they seem to just have such a good understanding of it on specific map types.
Yeah, they really, really do. And if it can favor in, their future maps, that's significant for them. Again, because we have to be honest, yesterday, their level of competition between the two of them was very, very close. Even though it might not have gone to, let's say, that map 5 that we saw with Redbirds and Team Burrito, it was still very, very compelling to watch both of them go head-to-head. As now we've concluded so far this control map, it was specifically on a map that they played dominantly. They carried it for sure into this one, but now we're entering into that map of push, where we did have WISP manage to take it yesterday with a miraculous save coming out from their Brig on Vega. And this time, I can guarantee you that if we're going to be going, actually, we have confirmation that we're going on Coliseum. So now it is going to be a moment that Team Burrito will be able to say, all right, you won it yesterday. We're going to try and win it today, friends.
I think this will be where we see Flex Tank play a little bit more. Like, I think that what we saw yesterday, like, you saw Crawley going on to the Diva. Also, I think the Zarya popped up a couple of times. We did see Team Burrito trying to opt into that. It was a very, very close Coliseum. Like, it was just at the death, like you mentioned, Vega coming out with that rally, clutching it up at the very end. And I expect nothing different in this series, in this matchup as well, when we go into Coliseum, because I think these two teams are just that close between each other. I do have to mention, though, that Tree has been popping off, and Rocket, at least in that first map, has not been the same Rocket that we saw towards the back end of the series yesterday from WISP.
And they need to come online. They have to elevate themselves to be that true nuisance that we had gained so much great attention and really put Team Burrito initially in, the back seat. They always had to play more reactive versus proactive. They were constantly having to keep on their toes to try and maneuver and be aware of where Rocket was. But like you mentioned, going into the same map again, it's fitting for these two gladiators to go head to head just outside the ring of the Roman Colosseum for them to battle it up and see who will be able to have that leader either give the thumbs up or the thumbs down.
I wonder as well when we go into this matchup, like, because I think that Luke Mino and Rack Attack have had like actually a phenomenal series so far. I wonder if like CJ and Vega are going to opt in to kind of do the mirror matchup. Like if they go back to Lucio Moira, I think that when they played like Brig Zen, I really liked that. I hope to see it again from WISP in this map because we saw it yesterday. It absolutely was unreal from what we saw of a performance from them. Vegas specifically, like we talked about, had a lot of clutch plays on the Brigitte. And I wonder as well, do Team Burrito opt into that same type of mirror, or are they going to stick with what, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Because the last two maps that we've seen Team Burrito play, they've played that like Lucio, Moira, Winston style, and it's worked out relatively well for them, I would say, on those both Oasis maps. But it is going to be Coliseum, a little bit of a different kind of angle there. This is usually where like the old flex tanks kind of come into play a little bit more, your Divas, your Zaryas. So I think you can also still play Winston here. I think Doomfist is also another option that we've seen prop up, but I don't know if you can necessarily play the same composition that you've been playing, especially with how Coliseum went last time.
I'd like to see it come out the gate initially. I mean, I know that is such a high risk, high reward because we emphasize so much of that first engagement, but with how it's been previously, if they don't seem to really get the advantage on that first out the gate fight, I think they could opt to take the adjustment. They give a little bit of the space, but then they go on to what their confident play is. But, as I say that, we'll look to see as these doors are about to open in just 15 seconds. You can see that there is a little bit of an adaptation, especially in their DPS lineup from what we've seen them yesterday.
I do like that we're seeing the Zenyatta Brig angle from both of these teams. I think on a map like this where you have these long corridors, definitely works out very well with the Zenyatta specifically, where You want to be able to just throw down those Discord orbs, throw down those volleys into this long hallway at the start. Discord orb also a very, very good ability. The biggest difference here is that King is going to be on that Echo, so has a little bit more flanking opportunities and burst potential than something like Dove, who's going to be on the Soldier, who is just going to be able to continuously pepper in damage from afar. So the range advantage is a little bit here for Team Burrito, and Wisp is going to have to find a way to maybe make Dove a little bit uncomfortable.
Peppering indeed, and looking to see if they can potentially get the salt tossed in as well. So you've got that lovely table topping for any meal you've got in front of yourself, as they now have the bot looking to continue to stay in this neutral position. Dove gets the pickup onto King, and as you said, that damage continuing to flow through with the assistance of Luke Mino and that Discord orb.
Yeah, I mean, really well played, and now this just leaves the ability for Dove to play a little bit more aggressively, only has to worry about a Tracer on the other side, Rocket, but you can see Tree already checking him, and that's a DMAC onto Crowley, and this is just going to be a fight win for Team Burrito. They're going to start pushing their advantage, and this is always the scary part right now, because with where they're at, they're going to be able to snowball pretty heavily in terms of the positioning of this bot, and now it's all going to be on Wisp in the rest of this map, because they need to win this fight almost, because if this is Team Burrito going going and snowballing this significantly, they're going to have such a lead to play with in these next couple of minutes.
I mean, this is very, very different from what we have seen yesterday, and it's morale, it's energy, it's just feeling this victory that they just had in the losers final that has built them up and just playing to a T, with now Tree continuing to get value underneath. Team Burrito, they are just barely able to survive as they draw back. Mikey still alive, mind you, with Tree as well. I'm so impressed by Team Burrito able to draw back in this, and they're going to even have CJ commit this Transcendence. It's a 1-for-1 trade. The rally is giving armament and health for Team Burrito to push back in.
Oh, I mean, that was so clutch, and I mean, Team Burrito did lose their Zenyatta, so they don't have Transcendence to play with, and the sustainability might be a little bit too much for Team Burrito to deal with against Wisp, especially now that they have their own rally going. That should be a flip over, so 30 meters about capped for Team Burrito. Beautiful play from Rocket, one clipping that Zenyatta. If Luke Mino's in that fight, it looks completely different in a scenario like that. But now in this second fight, though, they do have the ability to use that Transcendence. Tree gets taken down. That means that might be more time for Wisp to push forward, more momentum in their back pocket as they wait for Tree to come back.
Oh, and a pickup onto Rack Attack. That's not only more time and more momentum, that is successful cart push here, or wall push. You know, we're going to figure that out. Bot push, yeah. As you're going to see it surpass that 30 meters.
You see Crowley on the flank, maybe looking for an angle to use the self-destructor. Just get into the back line. There's a nice defense matrix, though, to keep the rest of the members alive for Team Burrito.
Crowley now drawing back, looking to see if they can give some defensive nature for this Wisp side. Self-destruct tossed out. Everyone hides in kind to make sure that they aren't going to get overwhelmed. And now you can see this retaliation coming through. But King says, I'm still going to do some work here, friends. I've got the duplicate online with Attack Visor, cleaning up all that stand in the way. And now chase down Rack Attack and gets another.
Oh, and this is going to be more progress here for Wisp. They're starting to accrue a lead, and it's off the back of just a couple of key picks that they had gotten in between the neutral fights, and now just a fight win. More and more progress for them. If they can get to this checkpoint, that's going to be really, really good for the chances of winning.
Up top, dropping down below, making sure that they can contest this, so it is no longer pushing forward. Team Burrito for a flanking opportunity with this pulse bomb. They don't see it. Transcendence is there, and Luke Mino actually gets King as they move into this front position. Great consumption by Crowley, but even with it being consumed, they're being completely collapsed on. Wisp is overrun again here as you've got this just multi-prong attack from Team Burrito.
Yeah, this fight goes back and forth, and now Team Burrito have to play like the hard game of push, where it's like the bot's not going to move necessarily that quickly towards the other side of the map, and you have to win a neutral fight and then probably have to win a fight on the bot. And they have the Attack Visor to work with. They're also going to have a rally, which is good for them because they have it a little bit sooner than Vega does, so they can potentially use that advantage in their favor. But actually the bot flips back over, and Team Burrito now have control.
Yeah, Team Burrito in a position now to try and see if they can re-engage this. They drew back, and then the rally is active. The Dove flank, though, might just be enough to clean this up. Separated, and they actually do get an elimination, so that causes a little bit of problems here, but should still be able to get most of this distance recovered.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's the flanks. The flanking potential on a map like this, especially when it's more open areas, Dove going all the way back around. And Team Burrito here, if they can win this fight, they can potentially match what WISP has in terms of progression, and also might be able to beat it. But you look at Vega coming in with that rally. We've seen them be great with them before on a map like this.
And you can see recognition once again. Same high ground position drop down to keep it uncontested. With now Mikey falling back, sticking with the supports. Great pickup onto King, but Dove falls as well, so it is a 1-for-1 trade. Now, Mikey, Transcendence is active in front of them as they've got the self-destruct waiting to lob it into the backside, but first it's going to be Crowy, actually, who lobs it in. Rocket takes down their counterpart again, and now you've got Team Burrito at a disadvantage, but Rocket being eliminated might be able to equalize for the moment as the self-destruct is picked around the corner.
I mean, Crowy has been doing such a good job of blanketing his team with the defense matrix, but actually Mikey's doing almost the same, keeping his supports alive in a scenario like that, letting Luke Mino take out Rocket, and now again we're just fighting back and forth between both of these teams. Rocket with the pulse bomb though available to them, that's the only ultimate we've got. CJ so close towards that Transcendence as well.
And look at how Crowy has been really synergizing with Rocket once again. That's what we saw earlier on the control map, now starting to show itself again against Team Burrito. And then once they do have that synergy to harass the back line, King and Vega can play aggressively. The duplicate comes out onto the Tracer to continue giving some extra assistance, and now allows Wisp to take the advantage. Stick comes out now with the pulse bomb as well, and that's Dove back to the spawn.
Yeah, that was Wisp, I mean, just hitting Team Burrito with their wallets right there. The ultimate economy too much for Team Burrito to deal with, and as we come back into this fight, I mean, Rocket still has the pulse bomb available to them. Actually gets the stick onto Rack Attack. That's a fight that's completely over. This is more progression for Wisp. And look at the time, Rich. Only a minute left. Even if Team Burrito come back and win a fight, they have to win 2 or 3 more off the trot to get it back and have a chance to win.
This mountain was already high in and of itself to try and turn this around, but it has now only grown higher, because this is now a multi-win fight that you need from Team Burrito to turn this back into their favor as they maneuver down this archway to see if they can stop this momentum forward. They managed to draw back Wisp, but have not yet completely taken this fight. Mikey low, does get D-Mech. Crowy gets the pickup onto Tree. Numbers for Team Burrito are just falling once again like dominoes, and you will continue to see Wisp push this.
And Team Burrito committed ultimates to that. They commit the pulse bomb. They also committed the rally for that one. Wisp don't necessarily have the ultimates themselves to work with, but Team Burrito might be forced to use their Transcendence, use their Tac Visor to try and just get the bot back, and then you're not going to have those ultimates for these next couple of fights. You'll need to push it all the way back.
And this bridgeway is a dangerous place to try and push onto. There's a couple of different angles that you can come from, since they do have that side passageway. The Transcendence is active by Luke Mino to stabilize for the time being, but once that does fade, Pulse Bomb comes through as they move far forward. Rack Attack once again on the radar for Rocket, but Team Burrito, with so much into that, managed to take it back, and now, what a shot, by the way, on that Helix Rocket. But Team Kill comes through, and now they have the biggest adventure ahead of them.
It has to be perfect from here on out. And I mean, again, I talked about it. They had to use Transcendence. They had to use their Tac Visor to win that fight. Look at on the other side. Transcendence available for CJ. Just the raw sustainability that they'll have alongside a duplicate from King. This makes it so difficult for Team Burrito to win unless like a miracle self-destruct happens here.
Vega now up front, attempting to contest. CJ procs the Transcendence, playing very far forward. Rocket gets healed up and free firing with King onto the support line. They will be brought down. That bot is moving with some harassment from Mikey up front and Tree, but the fact that your numbers are that low, this is now feeling like a deja vu moment from yesterday where Wisp has been able to calibrate themselves and become the Maximus of this Coliseum Gladiators battle.
I mean, perfectly played from Wisp at the end there, too. They knew they had an advantage with that Transcendence. They saw that Luke Mino was, I mean, not really out of position necessarily, but they just ran onto him, essentially, right? Where it's like, there's no way to keep him alive, even through Defense Matrix. They just rush 4 people at Luke, and he ends up dying, and once that Zenyatta's not there, you're already at such an advantage because you're losing a lot of, you know, you're losing that potential of the Discord Orb, and you just fall flat if you're Team Burrito there. Well played from Wisp, understanding their ultimate win conditions, and we have a tied-up series, a little bit like yesterday, Rich.
Yeah, really, really so. And I mean, even looking at the stats when we do talk about, earlier where there's those significant individuals who have 17 and 18 kills, this one all around is about par within, one or two negligibly across the board. So at this point, it wasn't really any like major significant individual players. It's just the team synergy and coordination able to really spread the love here to make sure that you can claim a map like Push, which I feel is one of the few that does have a little bit more of that wider spectrum of contribution for eliminations because of just the stylistic nature of this Push map.
I will say as well, Rocket definitely was impressive on that map in particular. I think every time that he had a pulse, it felt like they always were hitting. Rack Attack in the last two pulse bombs that Rocket had got hit by both of them, and losing that Brigitte, especially if you're playing Briggs End, Brigitte is the majority of your healing in that composition. So really well, patiently played pulse bombs coming in from Rocket there, understanding that if I can just take down this Brigitte, fights are going to be very easy for us to win. And even if we don't win them necessarily right out, maybe I'll get some ultimates out of it. Maybe I'll get some other cooldowns out of it. So really, I think well played from WISP, showing that yesterday's Coliseum was not a fluke and just saved by Vega. It was meant to be their map.
Mm-hmm. And for us that are looking at stats and talking about this kind of details, you can talk about the same thing of your own gameplay. As we mentioned earlier, and we've seen the ads before, we have to give major shout out to our sponsors, Champria.gg. If you're an analyst, a staff member, a player looking to grow your skill level in Overwatch, Champria.gg is the place where your journey in the esports stardom begins. The only platform with match performance analytics for teams, and Champria.gg, as we're using today, is also introducing player-specific performance analytics this month. So head over to the platform, create your team, invite your friends, start scrimming, and upload your data today. But with that being said, we'll head to the short break, and we'll see you in just a few moments.
What's up, everybody? Chef Billy here with Map 5, and I am joined in the booth today with none other than Tickety. Tickety, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
So I'm Tickety, aka Louie in real life. I'm probably best known for being an ex-assistant coach for the Dallas Fuel, as well as the ex-head coach for Team Canada back when World Cup was still a thing. And yeah, I'm not only super psyched to be watching this tournament over the weekend, but I'm actually going to be competing in it myself as well. Threw together a little team, myself and ex-head coach of the Dallas Fuel, Arrow, put together a team, and we'll be probably going 0-2, but looking to have a good time doing it.
What's your favorite part of our beta so far?
It's been like 2 years, right? It's been 2 years since we got something this fresh feeling, and just Overwatch feeling fresh again, not just the new Hero Sojourn, not just the new maps, not just the new map type, just the fresh feeling experience brings me back to like 2016 when Overwatch first launched. It brings me back to wanting to grind the game, falling in love with the game all over again. And really just having that fresh feeling experience is exactly what I wanted from this beta. I was super skeptical at first. I think a lot of people were, but now that I got my hands on it, I've been playing almost every day, and I'm having a blast with it just because it feels fresh again. It feels like Overwatch again.
What would you like to see in the next iteration of the next beta?
I just want to see more of everything. I want to see another new hero added. I want to see more balance patches. They've been doing a great job already updating balance in the beta itself, so I'm sure we're going to see more balance updates. More maps, maybe that new map type that's been sort of like floating around the forums that people are trying to guess at what it might be. It seems like they're finally shifting their direction to be more of a live service game for the PvP side. So hopefully that means this fresh feeling gets to stay with us, not just throughout the betas, but even whenever the game fully launches.
You talked about skepticism amongst the community. What would you say to people that were skeptical about the first beta? What would you say to them now?
Give it a shot. If you weren't sure, if it doesn't look new enough to you, play some games. Better yet, get some friends, play together, and get some time into the game. Again, this feels like brand new game, feels like the first launch of Overwatch 1, and it's just a blast to play right now. Based on what we've seen from the dev team, the new heightened communication, the new weekly updates, and all that kind of stuff, and what seems to be maybe hints towards a future roadmap for where the beta is going, it seems very optimistic. And this is coming from someone who, for the past 2 years, have been pretty pessimistic about the direction Blizzard's been going with Overwatch 1. I'm really excited to see where Aaron Keller and the rest of the dev team are taking the game. And really, I'm I'm going to be sad when the beta goes down, but I'm just going to be waiting on the edge of my seat for the next round.
You know, you talked about a lot of things being implemented, and one of those things that we both are very, very mindful of and very passionate about is the Path to Pro system. There's one improvement that you personally could affect the change in. What would it be?
Recently, news came out about what the contender season is going to look like and how it is going to function with Open Division. And the biggest downside from that announcement is that the Open Division scene is going to be competing in Overwatch 1, while Contenders is going to be competing in Overwatch 2. And this means that there's a little bit of an awkward transitional phase where all the teams competing in Overwatch 1 will make it into a chance to compete for Contenders, but then we'll have to switch games. We'll have to change from a 6v6 system to a 5v5 system. We'll have to learn new metas. There's a new hero in the mix. There's brand new maps. There's so much new, and I think it's asking too much of teams to master 2 games, essentially. If Overwatch 2 was just fully released, there'd be no problems, but we're not quite there in the dev cycle, obviously, and it might be too much to ask to just let anyone who wants to compete in Open Division guarantee a slot with permanent beta access kind of thing. While it's not ideal, I'm definitely looking forward to the return of Contenders. It's always great to see the amateur scene thriving. It's great to see that Blizzard is continuing to support it. I know there were a lot of people questioning if it would be even returning before the official launch of Overwatch 2 or things like that. Because Contenders, especially as we've seen this year in the Overwatch League, is a huge pipeline for talent all over the world to make a splash, be noticed by teams in the league, and then be bumped up to playing in the big leagues, playing on stage. Even if it's not perfect, definitely hyped to see what level of talent we're going to see in the next season of Contenders.
Now, is there anything else you want to put out to the community? You know, you can hype yourself up, hype anybody else up, your team you were talking about, or if any kind of a general message you want to put out to everybody out there watching.
Make sure you guys are supporting community-driven events like this. Make sure you guys are supporting Tier 2, Tier 3 Overwatch, all the events like this that happen, that garner more viewers, that leads to more sponsors, more bigger prize pools, more hype in the scene, and more chances for you guys to get involved in the competitive scene. And I think this is Overwatch at its best.
All right, well, Tickety, thank you so much for taking time out of your hectic schedule. But that's going to do it for us. I am Chef Billy with Map 5. Now back to Natter's Overwatch tournament.
Hello again. We continue. It is a 1-1 score so far in this best of 5. I am Rich Rad here with Kenobi as we continue on for this amazing Natter X community beta clash. I cannot wait to see what this next map has in store for us, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1-1, and you definitely want to have that third map win to give yourself that match point. We saw yesterday it was WISP who did end up taking the third map, so we were tied 1-1 last time, and I think here what I'm looking for is what we're going to be seeing from Rocket again, because I think in that last map, he definitely popped off a little bit more. Didn't do like the same like Rocket like we saw yesterday, but it was still like that, like making very impactful plays. And I think as well, like Tree and Dove have also been stepping up significantly. And so the DPS matchup for me is still something that I'm incredibly focused on. However, I do have to say that I think the tank play has been phenomenal. And from both of them, I mean, Crawley is a flex tank player coming from Overwatch 1. I've been still impressed with Mikey a lot. Like, I've been impressed with his diva play specifically. Crawley also has been very good at the divas. I think the way that they've been able to just like blanket their supports in need with defense matrix, or just follow up on dives, I think the tank matchup has been incredible so far as well. So going into a map like Watch 1 Gibraltar, this to me, and this is a map actually that I believe Team Burrito won, because this was the map that Gibraltar was. And it was the Dove map.
Yeah.
This tells me that this
Dove
is
map for the Dub map. That's what we would say.
This is when I was like thinking like yesterday, I was like, okay, this might be the moment where, Team Burrito can come back into a scenario like this because of the way that Dove was playing. Like, Dove was on another level on this map specifically, and I think that WISP probably, I would hope at least, are ready for something similar, because if it's just gonna be like yesterday where Dove just got to basically free farm from the back line, it's not gonna be a good fun time for WISP.
It's not going to be a good fun time, but the one thing that we do have knowledge of is that there is going to be a swap. King is actually going to be stepping out, and Thunda is going to be subbing in. So maybe they feel that Thunda has this opportunity to swap in, recognizing that Dove was such a key factor in this, that they're going to bring in that substitute to potentially alter the outcome of this map, to hopefully play a little bit more to their strengths, now that they've been able to see exactly how strong Dove can be on this hit scan.
I mean, Thunda is a hit scan player. So this would tell me that like they are thinking to themselves, WISP are like, yeah, we need something to counteract Dove. Like we saw what happened yesterday. If we just let Dove play Widowmaker without any real like counter ability or any contention, we're gonna lose this map. So bringing Thunda, I think, definitely makes this matchup a little bit easier for WISP, because now they have someone who can counteract Dove on the other side on the Widowmaker.
And as we do defensively see Dove going to be on the tried and true from what we've seen before, and looking to claim the same level of dominance as we've had, with Mikey going to be the counter harassment. But we did have the Doomfist being more of the selected pick from WISP originally, as they opt to potentially go something a little bit different here, and seeing what that final selection is once these doors open.
I mean, Thunder going to be on that Widowmaker, so that Widowmaker battle going to be incredibly important. Mirror compositions from both of these sides. And really, when you look at like the Widowmaker matchup here, you're going to be looking for where those sightlines are coming from. Who's going to get the advantage over who, and how are they going to be able to, I mean, well, there you go. Thunder gets the advantage a little bit early. Juggling the cart's going to be also incredibly important, because if you're going to be able to move this cart forward a little bit under the car wash, that can give some more angles for Thunder to get some good sight.
Oh, what a bio nade to land onto 3-2. WISP is going to be having a real tough time when they try and re-engage this, but now that it's faded, sightline opens up ever so slightly for Thunda, as this now backline position's getting a little harassed on. The Winston goes aggressive by Crowley to try and counteract this movement. 3 minutes still to go, and they're just moving underneath this car wash position.
So the card has been moving, which means that they eventually will have to send, Tree back there, potentially put some of the tanks down there, and it's going to force Dove back a little bit in terms of those sight lines. You can see them already grappling away onto Plat as the dive comes in from Team Burrito, doesn't manage to find anything. Good knockback from Rack Attack.
And with this knockback, it allows some space to be opened up as Tree looks to reside near that payload to go into this TVT positioning. Rocket barely getting out by the skin of their teeth, as Tree will regroup with the team, get topped up for healing, and still going to have Mikey up top contesting.
Love the patience there from Tree. Doesn't want to go too aggressive, knowing that just if you can take the Tracer out and force them out, that's already enough. Mikey gets slept, always was nanoed, gets pulse bombed on, but it's not enough to get on the kill.
No, look at how much healing and armor is coming through by Rack Attack on the back line to keep Mikey alive. Also gets the stun with, well, not the stun any longer, but the bash takedown onto Rocket as we go to the Widow 1v1. Almost gets the shot. Bolt low. Thunder has to tuck tail and needs to find himself somewhere to hibernate inside the web.
Oh, rallies coming in from both teams. You can see Tree on the flank trying to pepper in some damage from the side. Thunder's able to take down Dove. That's a big pick.
Finally able to get the better end of this. Earlier, Dove took the first count, but now is able to get retaliation as Thunder up top harassed by Tree, aggressively maneuvering with that grapple to try and reposition near the pack, waiting for them to move around the server. Gets overwhelmed. The damage is far too high.
Oh,
Tundra can't survive, and Tree gets the fist to the face.
Oh, Tree played that so incredibly well, and another anti-nade comes out from Luke Mino. This is a fight win from Team Burrito. They're going to be able to hold. What a play from Tree, making sure that Widowmaker is not just left to their own devices to free farm. And this is a scary scenario for WISP here. Only a minute left for them to push forward. Sights are going to be a cooldown that they have in this next fight. But, I mean, realistically, you're going to be banking on the Nano and the Pulse Bomb coming in from Rocket. The Tree on the other side has a Pulse Bomb of their own way before Rocket does.
Yep. Infrasight now available. They are going to look to try and get the angle. Dove playing aggressively to get the pick up. A sleep comes out into the back onto Mikey. They're going to bionate instantly to try and take him down before he can escape. Still survives. Now that it fades, the supports can get the Nano out on time for Mikey to continue flourishing and also growing near that Primal Rage.
Yeah, gonna be able to take a lot of space away as well. Not playing too aggressively, knowing that their life is very important for creating that space. Rocket coming back in, Pulse Bomb soon available to them. Nano boost as well for CJ.
And at this point, Thunder in the back can't really get nearly as much value. They're playing in these small rooms to the side, that there's no sightlines for Thunder and has to reposition aggressively. But the moment they do so, that's when Mikey changed trajectory, gets the pickup with the assistance of Tree, takes a nappy poo underneath, but it's not going to matter. The damage is done. Luke Mino finally eliminated by Rocket, getting some value here with Crowley taking down another. Thunder is no longer looking for the Widow duel. Swaps onto the legs for the speed with the 5 seconds that remain as this payload still has yet to reach the checkpoint.
Mikey's gonna use Primal Rage to just boot people off the card. Dove takes down Crowley. That's a big pick. That means there is no tank available to them. The card, though!
No tank, no bubble, but they get on it quick enough so that they prevent it from moving forward. Only just
Huge
under a meter or so to go as you've got now the big plays coming out from WISP to turn it back into their favor. It was Team Burrito at the start of this with a great shutdown onto Crowley, but the rest of the team will bolster their morale, fortify their aggression and defenses to sustain and press this to the checkpoint.
I mean, WISP can breathe a huge sigh of relief at this moment because that was looking very scary. And now we go into second where, again, the Widowmaker matchup going to be incredibly important. Thunder has gone over to that Soldier 76. I wonder if this is something they're going to stick on throughout. They do have control of this high ground right now, so it is potentially a possibility where this Soldier 76 can get a lot of value with the long range. They just have to be worried about the one-shot potential.
Oh, what a bionade comes out. You've got Vega jumping up top to escape, but the Pulse Bomb shall clutch around CJ, eliminating them from the mix, and now a follow-up for WISP to come through. Despite them losing one, Team Burrito still has to draw back and survive with what they can of the rally.
I mean, this is a singular fight, and they've already pushed the card almost all the way to second here. Team Burrito have to get someone on this card to stall.
And this now Dove's not getting any value. They can't seem to get there because the aggression continues to push forward. Crowley has constantly put them in check. The barrier up front, even to force them out into an open position or change trajectory to the opposing side. Finally, Team Burrito gets into an advantage. The nano boost onto Mikey to harass as the counter dive comes in. Crowley on the back, forcing Luke Mino. Same thing with Rocket, but as this counter dive comes through, Team Burrito starts to pop off. Tree for the triple. Dove competing up top and gets the assistance from Mikey.
I did really like the aggression there from WISP, just taking away all of that positioning, meaning that Dove can't set up with those sightlines. 60 seconds left for WISP here. They were able to do it at the very death before. They're going to have to be able to do it again. With where the card is, there is no semblance of a respawn advantage. This is going to be last fight, and with Thunder going down, it is for sure going to be the last fight that we're going to have here from WISP. They have a nano, they have the tac visor along with it to create that space if they so choose to, but I mean, Tree's got a pulse bomb. Mikey has the sustainability with that primal rage. It's going to be hard for WISP to win this one.
salt in the wound onto Thunder, who now has the tactical visor opened up into the doorway, gets Tree, but now Dove has to quickly maneuver into that far back position to give assistance from the supports. Thunder doesn't get a second kill, but they still put in a lot of pressure. Dove almost taken down. Beautiful recovery and re-engagement from Mikey to distance and push him back. But with this 10 seconds to go, the payload, we're looking to reach this checkpoint. They've got no support ultimates just yet. Luke Mino and Rack Attack attempting to get back into this. The Pulse Bomb is going to now open up the opportunity to hold here. Here's the second. Tree had heard us talk about Rocket, and now Tree has unleashed what they have in the back pocket. Dope Pulse even chatted in the communications.
I mean, hey, real recognize real. That was an unreal pulse bomb from Tree. I mean, he almost like frame perfectly stuck the brig as the rally was going off. What a insanely clutch play from Tree there. That was, I mean, hey, you know what? Tip your hat. It happens. Kind of just go next after.
Let's go again. Like yeah. Tip your hat and let's go again, as we now see it prevented from reaching that third location. Again, yesterday, it was near and to completion that we had, and now at this point, it stops inside of the space station, where they have the housing of the ship, with now this swap of sides. The defensive position from WISP, and looking to see if Thunder can get this exchange in their favor, versus letting Dove roam and do what they like.
And as we go into this, next part of the map of Gibraltar, Tree has had a phenomenal time on the Tracer so far. I mean, even just that last fight that we've seen, I think that the Tracer has been really, really popping off for Tree. And it's something that we saw a little bit yesterday, but a lot of the time when Team Burrito was playing, it was like a mix between Tree going on to the Echo, Tree going on to the Reaper, things like that. Dove was some of the time the Tracer player, but Tree, I mean, Tree's been absolutely fragging on this pick so far, and definitely showing that they have the chops to play almost anything, it feels like, that they need to be able to pop off. As we see Thunder going to get some protection to see if they can get a nice first pick here, but good respect from Team Burrito not letting that happen.
Yep, they're not going to let it happen. Wisp acknowledges that they shouldn't overstay their welcome. The side angle comes out from Dove, trying to get a decent sight line onto the supports in the back, but that shield is there and ready. But oh my goodness, Thunder comes out and takes down Tree. They acknowledged the value previously and even said, like you mentioned, after it happens, well, yeah, that happens too, Tree.
Yeah, and I mean, with Tree not here, they have to wait a little bit longer, does Team Burrito. Look at them trying to control this high ground, seeing if they can find any type of sights for Dove, because the scary thing about being on the offense is that you don't necessarily know where Thunder can come from, like that, where you can just grapple, hook up, and you're just dead. And I mean, they might be able to kill Thunder. Actually, huge sleep from CJ. That's absolute, or Luke rather, that's disgusting.
Yeah, Luke Mino comes in and says, you may have gotten my comrade, but I'm going to come back at you tenfold with the assistance of the dive from Tree to take down Thunder, and opens up some movement.
Yeah, I mean, this is so good now, because now Dove can move forward with the positioning that Team Burrito has gained, and now has a little bit more control of those sightlines on the Widowmaker. As you can see, the cart pushed all the way under, car washed. Rocket just trying to put some peppering damage into that back line, but against a Brig, that's always a fight you don't want to have.
Yeah, no, a lot of it going into the shield. Even though it was close to being broken, it still manages to hold strong. Underneath now, Rocket will look to try and re-engage. Thunder being harassed by the Winston play once again, has to just drop from this high ground position, and now that they're gone, it leaves them open to deal some significant damage since they aggress forward. Both supports are down, and Thunder gets another onto Dove.
Great counter dive from Wisp there, understanding that as soon as Mikey goes in, there's no one to jump back to the rest of the team and help with the dive that's coming through. And while they again, this feels a little bit like we saw yesterday, but on the other foot, right, where it's like they're committing so much cooldowns just to get to the other side of the Widowmaker, and while they're doing that, the other team's just like, okay, totally fine, we will use our own cooldowns to get into your backline and actually mess you up.
And you can see now what a great takedown onto Dove. Rocket getting additional damage. Oh, my goodness. There is a pause in the middle of that, as that sideline for Luke Mino. Luke Mino just got saved.
Well, I mean, we were seeing it in infrared. Like, there was Dove, DC'd and, was moving, very slow. And so that's unfortunate that we had a DC that, because that's going to, yeah, it's just unfortunate that we had a DC at that scenario.
Drastic change into the flow, but again, at this point now, we can really highlight that WISP is trying to step it up a notch. Thunder is starting to come online, as you touched on it. The defensive position has allowed them to get a lot more value. They've got these angles to play. The aggression has to come through by Team Burrito. And with that counter dive and that counter aggression has actually been working out very well. And both supports are really getting overrun for Team Burrito.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, especially if you don't have the Winston to like jump back into you and, you know, stall a little bit or dissuade the dive from coming in. It's a bit of a tricky situation for them. And I mean, you know, we can look at the stats a little bit. Like, Thunder's like 7-6 right now. I wouldn't say he's winning the 1v1 because I think in terms of just like kills, they're tied between him and Dove. But like, it feels like Thunder is just coming out of these areas that Dove necessarily isn't expecting. And Dove is also getting a ton of pressure put on him, not only by Thunder, but also by Rocket.
Yeah, it's gone up tenfold. And even then, with some of this, you know, attempted counter aggression, like we talked about, again, really calling to it is that you're having this forward positioning constantly to try and counter it with the Winston play, and it's really not working out for Team Burrito. They're attempting to, but it's coming either too late or like there's no way to get back, and especially when you play on that high ground position. If you go in for the jump and you play into that narrow corridor, you can't recede back and maybe drop the bubble for your supports because you're going that far forward in that initial position towards where that checkpoint is.
Yeah, and I mean, they're totally fine, I think, with taking that trade where it's like, okay, the Winston's going to dive onto our Widowmaker. Yes, our Widowmaker gets pushed out, but we now know that for the next 5 seconds, your Winston can't get back to the team, and we're just going to say, okay, we're just going to rush forward with the rest of our team, overwhelm your supports, overwhelm kind of these stagnant heroes that you sometimes have in compositions like this, and win fights that way, because there's no way a Winston can kind of bring that one back from the brink in a scenario like that. So WISP are totally fine taking those trades.
Yeah, and again, just looking going forward, at least with the time that is remaining onto this, is if you can continue to see WISP defensively maintain this high ground position and draw that attention from the tank line into the back, leaving their support line vulnerable, this should easily be a opportunity for WISP to correct their errors that they had yesterday and manage to be able to take it versus allowing it to go to a match point in favor of this Team Burrito side.
And I think that shows good adaptation, right? Where it's like they're learning from what happened. Like they knew that Dove was going to be a problem. So they said, okay, we have a sub DPS for a reason and we're going to bring them to the table. And Thunder has been doing a great job so far on this Widowmaker. And that was something that they lacked yesterday when they played Team Burrito. But now it feels like the shoe is on the other foot a little bit with Thunder having a pretty good performance on this Widowmaker map of Gibraltar.
Yes, indeed. It looks like we are having a little bit more of an extended technical delay, so we will be heading to a short break before we continue on to make sure that we have got everyone back online. So don't go anywhere because we're pretty sure this one's going to be a quick one. We're back in the action, gamers. We don't like to lie to you as we resume from the point of potential deletion, as that shot doesn't manage to get the first time around, but the second one sure will, as you've got WISP now looking to manage to clean up once again as it's a minute and 30 with Team Burrito back online.
Yeah, that fight was kind of a wash. I mean, they're still, trucking it along. Dove has switched back over to the Soldier 76, actually, so not opting at all for the Widow 1v1, opting for a little bit more of that sustained damage and ability to push forward and negate those dives. Crawley's getting insanely low, but has the Primal. Dove gets taken out, doesn't even need to use that Primal Rage.
No, doesn't at all, and can now carry that into the next fight, which rightfully should be the final fight if they can continue to buy time with this. Team Burrito actually commits the nano boost onto Mikey so that they can get that extra damage up front. Crowley rotating back to try and just bypass the shield from Rack Attack, who does commit now the rally as well. Sleep onto Mikey to prevent the harassment. This Primal Rage onto the supports. Both are continuing to be topped up with healing to make sure that they are sustaining through those raging fists of the Scientist, but gets two despite on the opposing side from Mikey.
Well, Mikey popping off, showing what they did in Overwatch 1 here in Overwatch 2 on this Winston, and a new lease on life is granted to Team Burrito here. 3 minutes to move forward, and I mean, they were they went really aggressive for these close spawns. I mean, it'll eventually be okay because they're going to be able to take the space anyways. And I really like the idea where they just want to go aggressive and, like, take that space away. So, again, like, kind of a wisp it to them. They can't just set up on that high ground. But, fortunately, getting a little bit too over-aggressive, it felt like.
Full spawn committed onto the payload. Doesn't manage to land onto Mikey, so that is a wash for now. As you do still have some decent damage coming up. Dove up top, repositions with the Helix Rocket. The Pulse taking down Rocket, who we've seen time and time again really elevate themselves. Tree has started to come onto a whole new level, and it's really influencing Team Burrito to keep pushing this forward.
You see the sustained damage here from Dove, doing a lot of work, so close towards that tac visor. Vegas popped the rally, so a lot of health for those supports in that backline. Crawley gets the nano.
Ooh, up front, getting a lot of value onto Tree, but and Mikey goes down. Separation here, a little bit of lack of coordination, 2 minutes to work with. At this point, Team Burrito has to try and recover from what they've got.
Yeah, I mean, look where Thunder was and how deep the dive was in from Mikey. They did get the nano out from CJ and the rally as well. And here comes the nano onto Dove.
Yep, the nano onto Dove is going to be an opportunity to combine that with the tactical visor, but nobody's in the sideline, still trying to pressure out Thunder in the back, who does have the infrared. And finally gets Luke Mino. That's what they were waiting for. The moment that Dove draws back, there's a pickup by Rocket. Tree at least is able to retaliate, but now we're reaching the final fight, and you're going to have Rocket. Oh no, Rack Attack pops the rally.
I mean, they are able to get out Primal Rage for it. Mikey's doing a lot of work here
with
Tree in the backline. Primal Rage is still committed right now, and this actually might be a winnable scenario for Team Burrito out of almost nothing. Crowley's dead!
Mikey has come online.
Way.
We were highlighting the DPS. We were highlighting the supports. But it's a solo Mikey tank play that's going to be the one to guarantee the victory. Team Burrito put themselves on a match point by the sheer strength and will of the Scientists.
I mean, that was crazy from Mikey and from Tree in the end of that. Essentially 2v5ing, it felt like at the end there. Mikey, unreal performance on this Doomfist match. We came, or not Doomfist, onto this Winston. We came into this talking about, like, oh, this is going to be a map where the DPS are going to matter a lot, the Widowmaker is going to matter a lot. Yes, they did, but in the end, Mikey's performance on the Winston really impacted that game heavily, and that's a win for Team Burrito, taking them to a 2-1 series lead and match point 1 map away from winning this tournament.
And you swapped between the supports to the DPS, now to the tank. And I think the biggest focal point, the overarching discussion here that I think you and I can really just completely put all of our eggs in our basket is adaptation and individual players truly stepping up and evolving over the course of these games. Like, it is just intense to see this type of growth and just playability and competitive nature between the two of them that is making this an absolute spectacular matchup to watch and just behold over the course of this grand finals best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like everyone's having their moment. That's the best part. I think between both of these teams, right? Even when we saw them in the winners finals, right? It seems like everyone had their moment, and this time it's Mikey's turn to shine on that tank role. Absolutely unreal performance from them. I think bringing in Thunder was a good decision from WISP. They understood, like, the Widowmaker was going to be impactful, but good adaptations from Team Burrito to understand, like, okay, the Widowmaker matchup might not be working out as well for us. Put Dove on the Soldier 76, just a standard pick that really doesn't have any bad matchups. So again, for Team Burrito, good adaptation from them. It's something that I've been impressed with going through the entire tournament so far in WISP. again, behind the 8 ball. We're going to Midtown as our next map going to New York.
Yes.
This is where WISP was able to close it out yesterday. Can they close out this map and bring us to a map 5?
I mean, we're just looking to stick with the same maps after that first round of control. It is playing to the strengths and to the maps of confidence, but scoreline looks a little different at this point from what we saw yesterday. It's a little switcheroo. And going into this Midtown, I would not be surprised if WISP is able to bring this to a map 5 and return to that control map where they felt, you know, having a little bit more of a opportunity to redeem themselves, to make an opportunity of not only getting into grand finals, but actually winning it.
And I wonder as well, I would assume King comes back in for this map. I'm not entirely sure just yet. King, you know, an Echo player. Echo does very good on Midtown. We've seen
I
in
would
the
think
past.
so.
So yeah, King will be coming back
King
into
is
the
back.
lineup. So Thunder was, you know, there for the Widowmaker specifically. So this is going to be a bit more of the standard composition that we've seen from WISP, and it worked out really well yesterday. I think that Rocket's Tracer performance on this map in particular was unreal, and if they can replicate that, I think we are definitely having a good chance of going to a map 5.
And it's kind of like this totem pole where it's like, hey, Rocket like elevated, and then it was Tree, and then it was now like Rocket a little bit more, and then Tree, and then we look at that even in comparison to other players as well. It's just this constant ebb and flow between teams, and it's just who's going to be able to get that extra momentum to swing it back once more, as we're just looking forward to getting into this next map for Midtown and getting a little bit more insight on seeing if they're going to also stick with this Mercy adaptation, which we did see a lot of yesterday, and utilizing it with the Echo, or there is an opportunity to see a little bit of an adjustment, more so from Team Burrito's side, because they really had quite a hard time when it came towards that later segment of Midtown as a whole.
I will say as well, like I'm talking a lot about like Rocket and a lot about the other players. I think Tree has like quietly had like an extremely good carry performance.
Yeah.
Like even in that last fight of Gibraltar, where it was like him and Mikey, he hit the pulse bomb onto Crawlway to take out the Winston, and he was like around Mikey with a lot of the damage going in. I think that Tree on the Tracer has been phenomenal. Very much known as well for an Echo player too. So this is a map where Tree feels like they're on it right now, and if there was a map to like bring it home and a hero to bring it home on for Tree, I wouldn't mind seeing it be that Echo.
Yeah, I 100% confirm and agree with you on that aspect of it, as we're looking to see who is going to be on this defensive and attacking position. We also did get confirmation as well that Thunder has been swapped out here, so we will be going back into our regular combination of Dove and Tree with King and Rocket. So that dynamic duo against the other is going to be quite a compelling story as we continue to build on top of it and seeing if Tree can continue to put on a performance, as you highlighted, really able to get it. And I mean, when you have your opponent mid-chat give, even though it might have been kind of like a, you know, like a little bit of a jab back, being just like, you know, it happens, like there's still like the recognition of knowing that, all right, like I know you got me, you know you got me, so we'll just throw it out there and then we'll lay it to rest and I'll come again.
And I mean, Thunder was good on the Widowmaker, but this kind of changes a little bit about how they'll work, I think, on a map like this. I mean, I think it definitely will be Echo-centric. I think, especially if they're bringing King back into the lineup. I like what you mentioned about like this Mercy kind of wrinkle that we've seen, because that was something I wasn't expecting necessarily. And I wonder if it does continue, because we did see like the Mercy be impactful in terms of just being able to pocket those Echoes and get them into those aggressive positions. I think Rez also, on a map like this where you see it specifically like on the defensive end, you have like no semblance of any type of respawn advantage. So like having Rez and like getting that like get out jail free card, pretty impactful for a defensive end.
The other part of it too is more so, especially when it comes to that initial point, is it's kind of convoluted, the pathway to get back. You've got that small kind of elbow position just next to where the payload comes out. You've got that side archway door and then over by where the Metra is. So it's not an easy position. Like when we look at, let's say, you know, King's Row, where you just come through the archway, you barrel forward and you get this clean contention to try and look for a regroup. It's not nearly as fluid. And I 100% agree with you that with that res, it was quite substantial, especially when you're getting that support online. But the biggest thing is also just the confidence and the trust that you have in your tank, because the second that you deviate away for that res, that tank has to be ready to do whatever they can, whether it's in their own kit or utilize the architecture to dive away from whoever is going to take advantage of those few subtle seconds to get that res back online.
I think one of the other things as well about this map in particular that's so weird is like when you're talking about the advancement like to the first point, there's like so many different ways, and it also depends on like what team comp you're playing against or playing with. Like you can technically go through the metro area of it. You can go underneath. You can go above with some of the compositions. Like if you have a Doomfist, for instance, that can just like jump over the metro car and onto the other side and maybe surprise your enemy. It's also so cramped that like nades are super impactful as well. That's like the other part of it. That's like, because if you can like throw a nade and just like hit one of like the geometries and next to a person, you could just win fights off of that alone some of the time.
Hit geometries like geometry wars.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I did it. It's okay. Oh man, I see this pizza every time. Who's gonna squish it? It's gonna be Luke Mino. Is it gonna be? No, it's not gonna be.
What?
You can squish the pizza. You can squish the pizza. It's just because it's funny. I mean, it's a virtual pizza. It is not a real pizza. I would never squish a real pizza. It is a virtual pizza. Thank you, Prod, for giving us this extent. Now I want pizza. Also, I'm a little upset that Burrito is not going to squash the pizza. There's more pizza! Oh, the pigeon's happy. Well, pigeon's happy.
We're in New York. Like, what do you expect? Like, I mean,
this is true.
There's
but I gotta be honest, that doesn't look like a New York style. That looks a little bit more hearty. I'm gonna be real. We can definitely use less polygons for this to be accurate pizza depth.
You know what? I'm gonna let you pontificate about the pizzas. I think that Team Burrito coming out on this composition feels a little bit more like their style, like with Mikey going onto that Winston. I think also bringing in the Brigitte is nice alongside the Ana because it does offer a little bit of protection. And there's no echo here, so they don't really have to be worrying about having that Mercy. What? Off the bat, insta-kill.
Insta-kill. That's going to be both the Flyers hitting the floor. That's going to be walking alongside the Pigeons as they're consuming the pizza with 3 minutes and 25 seconds. This will be an easy cap.
Yeah, I mean, nade is just such a powerful cooldown, especially if you can hit, like, any of the squishies. Like, King and Vega got anti-naded there. I think he actually hit it off of the pole, and then, like, there was, like, nothing they could do after that. Like, that was just really well played from Luke Mino. And this is a significant time bank that Team Burrito have to move forward with 5.5 minutes. And I mean, they have the snowball potential. Nano's going to be up relatively soon. Pulse Bomb's going to be here for Tree. Like, this could be a dangerous proposition here for WISP.
And it's a big highlight and props to Luke Mino. You and I have talked on multiple occasions from the collegiate scene how significant this individual is, and that right there is a perfect example of how substantial that single and sole ability can change the trajectory of an outcome. 5 minutes now to work with as they attempt to go up to this midtown tunnel archway to prevent anyone from continuing to maintain dominance. Crowley just getting picked off up top, gets demeched. King shuts down Dove, but Mikey's doing work of their own, just collapsing. Attempted sleep from CJ, but this is the Mikey's game.
I mean, look how deep Vega and King went, and the amount of peel that Rack Attack was able to give Luke Mino for help. That was basically two supports out fragging a Echo and Mercy. That was some great support play from them. Here's the pulse one from Tree. Oh, they don't know. They have no idea.
They don't know.
They don't.
Now gonna try and jump out. Sticks it to King. You ain't going nowhere, friend. What a res to get up quickly. And the sleep buys some time. CJ says, all right, friend, you gonna take a nap while you ain't waking up.
I mean, CJ bailed them out of that so nasty.
Yeah. CJ coming in clutch, just as you saw Luke Mino on the attack with a duplicate from King now onto the Winston to get that extra monkey online. Self-destruct does actually clip Luke Mino here. Doesn't manage to be outside of its radius behind that cab. And King still actually in this. Can't quite yet get to that primal rage. Nope, it's not gonna happen.
Oh, you can see how deep Mikey is going into that backline as well with the primal rage. This fight is so scrappy rich. Here comes the nano onto Rocket.
Chaos, utter chaos underneath here. This midtown tunnel is going to be a place for battles as the flank comes around the back, but Dove is going to be giving some much deserved punishment for the earlier engagement that they had to sleep on a tree.
I think this has been a fantastic read from Team Burrito and just like understanding what WISP was gonna be wanting to play in this scenario, because I mean, from the get, these anti-nades from Luke Mino have been absolutely phenomenal. The supports really haven't died a lot, and WISP has had to commit so much to taking them down that Mikey is just going into the backline with Tree and saying, okay, there's nothing here for you to be able to take us down. We're going to be totally fine. Tree, again, looking on the flank for another stick.
And up top, you do see Crowley with the Doomfist, utilizing that high ground position to try and engage onto Tree and Mikey, but really can't get too much value, as they have to drop down below to contest onto the payload. Stick comes through once again. Vega. Tree has now finally continued to elevate themselves. They've reached their peak performance thus far as we continue to see Team Burrito dominate on this aggression. This is vastly different than what we've seen, but this is the choke position that they've seen them get stuck at. But as I say that, Team Burrito, they ain't getting stuck at all.
I mean, Tree is going absolutely bonkers, man. I think he's hit every single pulse bomb so far, stuck it onto someone in this map. Rocket's coming back with a pulse bomb of their own, but look at this. Nano available. There's also the rally available. Mikey might be able to get Primal Rage off this.
And with that, slipped. At least that'll mitigate for the time being. The rally is active to give the extra health value. Crowley aggressively onto the point, gets slept, and is going to get chipped away even further. But what a great reposition and read onto that. Vega and Crowley collapse onto Mikey to eliminate them. They've lost the tank. Rack attack, though, up front, gets the flay, knocks back Crowley. This isn't over just yet for Team Burrito.
Oh, and we see Tree with the pulse bomb ready and available to them. Oh, he actually gets the stick onto the duplicate and takes out King, and they don't get on the point!
Oh, no!
Oh, that's a heartbreaker.
Wowzers! Gamers, this is match point grand finals of the Natter X Community Beta Clash, and Team Burrito is giving us a show.
I feel like Tree heard everyone being like, oh, Rocket, you know, Rocket's such a good tracer, you know, Rocket's been popping off, and Tree's like, you know what, I'm just bringing it out myself. I've had enough of this.
Yep. You know what, fam?
He's played unreal. I cannot stress enough how good Tree has been playing this entire series so far.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's probably the single and sole thing so far this broadcast that I have not been able to say is the most similar to what you said. And here's the thing, is they probably have it on their second monitor. They've got the stream playing. It's on the delay, and they're just like, all right, fam. That's why they throttled. It only took the 3 minutes to push to that point to hear the delay to know that, all right, they're talking about Rocket.
It's like him and Mikey's playing out of his mind right now. Luke is hitting anti-nade after anti-nade. Rack is just not letting Luke die at any point. Dove has been, you know, pressuring out this Echo a lot of the time, keeping them safe, and just I just feel like Team Burrito is in a position where everything is a well-oiled machine for them, and it's working out so perfectly. All the ducks are in a row.
Well-oiled and greasy, like that splattered pizza from King inside the spawn room, as you do have the low clearance checkpoint, with that underpass being the point of entry here for Rocket. Nice Crowley positioning with the Doomfist, as we've seen before. Dante playing as well in the Overwatch League, doing the same maneuvers as Crowley has taken a chapter out of their book, but the escape needs to still be just as clean as Mikey takes him down.
And I mean, again, look at it's the supports that are really popping off here in these scenarios, right? They're keeping themselves alive so that they can just sustain through all of the cooldowns that are coming in from Crowley. Now they're going to be able to take control of this metro area and just continue to take the clock down for WISP. About the minute already taken off the clock for them by the time this next fight starts. And with WISP, I mean, they have to just rely on those Doomfist engages from Crowley.
Yeah, already 60 seconds off the clock now. Bionade lobbed into the back, gets Luke Mino. Is there the follow-through, though? It's going to come up short. Nobody can eliminate it, so they have to play back. WISP is not getting nearly as much value as we saw on Team Burrito in the initial points.
But I mean, you saw how much space Mikey was able to get, right? As soon as the nade comes in, Mikey dives in to make sure follow-up isn't able to come from anyone else. Mikey doing a great job of peeling for his supports. And look at him, he's zoning off almost by himself the entirety of the support line.
It's quite miraculous to see this Winston play continue to elevate even further. It's just one step after another, climbing higher into their performances. You've got King underneath attempting to get that damage onto the nanoed Winston. Mikey just roaming free and doing whatever they please. The combination of Crowley, though, and Rocket will able to get an opening onto Luke Mino with the assisted damage from King. Sticky bombs land, 2 minutes to go, and they are just still trying to contest onto this initial capture.
I mean, CJ's dead, and that means that this is potentially recontestable, and not even recontestable. There's no one here.
No.
Great movements from WISP. Again, as soon as like the dive is coming in from WISP, Team Burrito's like, okay, your backline is vulnerable. I'm diving in as Mikey into that backline with Nano. What are you gonna do about it? The supports can't heal you. This has just been so well played, and no one is checking Mikey in these scenarios. King getting really greedy right there, and his lucky Dove didn't take his head off.
Ooh, yeah, but you know, again, Dove getting stuck for some time there himself and having to be very the sprint to get out of there. They saw that Doofus play come in quickly. A sleep combination. Rocket comes in as well with King to make sure they solidify the pickup onto Luke Mino, but all the while you still have some value taking down others. Tree gets King. Crowie is now in the back attempting to cause some mayhem onto Mikey, who's still juggling him. They can't get him.
Look at, they go for an engagement, and it works out so well. They were able to take down Luke Mino, but Mikey's just in the backline, just harassing still.
Yeah, and just Pulse Bomb comes out. Again, are they going to be even to follow up onto this? Tree gets the Pulse Bomb, deleting that CJ play once again. Vega is slept, taking a snooze. And you've got Wisp in dire moments right now with 50 seconds to go.
I mean, they have to reset here. They're still trying to continue this fight. Crowie has to go down, and we're getting to the point where it's going to be last fight territory for them. There is really nothing else they have to stand on, and they don't have a lot of ultimates to work with here, Rich. They only are probably going to have this Meteor Strike from Crowie, and you look at Luke Mino waiting for the perfect moment to throw this Nano onto Mikey, and with an anti could just end this grand finals right here.
And looking to see if they can collapse behind. Early entryway coming in from Tree in the back with the Nano onto Mikey. Big bio nade to prevent him from getting any assistance, but there's so much damage overrunning. Crowie gets 2, 1 being the support. It's all on Luke Mino now to keep this team alive, and Tree to weave their way to success. Dove sprinting back from spawn, has a long way to go. Now Mikey, we've seen them be able to pull out miraculous plays once before. Can they do it again? Is it still going to be Luke Mino giving the healing? Tree in the back onto King. They're managing to hold on to this and keep it contested. They have respawned. They've come back in numbers, and the Meteor Strike inside the bubble doesn't get the damage. No one's even tickled by it, and you will have Team Burrito walking up to the Metro. The conductor is there. They ask for the ticket, and it's Team Burrito managing to claim this grand finals of the Natter X Community Beta Clash.
Team Burrito get their revenge in the grand finals, taking that scoreline that Wisp had against them and using it against their enemies. And Tree, player of the game, I think player of the series, potentially alongside Mikey. That was an absolutely flawless performance on Midtown from Team Burrito. What a way to give themselves the victory here in this tournament.
Looking at it tactfully, 3 players, Tree, Luke Mino, and Mikey. You're down, holding that position, and they come out on top. What an absolutely beautiful display of coordination, and rightfully well-deserved here. I mean, again, still giving props to WISP and getting into the grand finals and been able to perform at the level because we had some serious highlight moments, but my goodness, Team Burrito has really unleashed hell going into this day.
And I think it's great adaptation as well from what Team Burrito was doing in their previous series against, WISP, and coming into this one. I think the team understood like kind of how the win conditions were going to be for their side. The counter dives from Mikey were picture perfect every single time. Him and Tree, I mean, I'm remembering that Gibraltar where they basically 2v5'd at the very end there, and were able to take that map for themselves, bring us to that Midtown where they secured everything. Mikey absolutely chatting it out on that Winston, and Team Burrito well deserving again of that grand finals victory here.
Yeah, so well deserving. It makes me envious that I can't play Winston to that level of performance.
Same. I can't play any hero to the level that these guys.
True. This is true. You're not wrong. Let's be honest. Let's be real honest. That's very true. But
I wish I could.
Oh, absolutely. But for us right here, we're actually just going to be able to manage to have a few moments just to kind of talk a little bit further. I know we were potentially looking to see if we can have a slight interview at the moment, but we're not actually going to be able to do that for the time being thus far. Actually, we're
we
looking
might
to
be
see.
able to.
No, we actually
Okay.
might be able to. We're getting confirmation from production right now. We actually might be able to speak to 2. That's what we're looking to lock down for the moment. So we will be able to head to a break. We appreciate your patience as we wanted to coordinate that to make sure that we get some words from these amazing players who we've been highlighting so much so far for today. So don't go anywhere, friends, because we'll be having that interview just on the other side of this break. Hello and welcome back, friends. As we said before the break, we will have a lovely opportunity of being able to speak with 2 specifically from our grand finals winner from Team Burrito. We have the luxury of being able to speak with both Mikey and Tree. My friends, how are you feeling after quite an eventful 2 days?
Pretty good. Pretty clean, I think, today.
Yeah, felt good.
Yeah.
So kind of walk me through a little bit, just like kind of with the changes that we're seeing in Overwatch 2. You know, Mikey, we saw you in Collegiate when we were casting, and you know, how has it been kind of transitioning to that singular tank, and Tree as well, like kind of piggybacking off of that? How has that been kind of, because it felt like you guys had like kind of this synergy between you two. How has that kind of been transitioning from Overwatch 1?
Well, that was only like my 3rd Overwatch 2 scrim, but I felt like really good, and I don't know, it's kind of the same. But there's like a lot more carry potential, it feels like, on tank from what I've been experiencing so far, like turning fights and stuff, playing your life. So
I think that with like dive comps, especially with Winston and Tracer, it's like pretty much the same game, except I can do so much more because there's not just like a 600 HP diva just staring at me holding Matrix. So just an easier game, I think.
Or a brig stun or shields or all that extra stuff. So there's so many different things. And okay, so kind of talk us through, you know, the methodology of you as a team right now. So we'll start with Tree first, because again, it gives you a little bit more freedom on this Tracer to get value into the back. And we even talked, both Kenobi and I, a lot about, you know, you and the dynamic of Rocket and how that kind of Tracer v Tracer is playing. What's like the mental going through, you know, as a Tracer player now with much more opportunity to have like this flourishing moment?
I think it's like, I don't know, it's very map dependent. Like I think on Jib, for example, like you have to hard push cart. That's all you got to do, because no one else on your team can do it, or else like you're in a bad spot and we'll just dive you first. So you kind of just like their tracer is always going to match you no matter what. So you fight cart, and then once you win cart duel, you're like your backline looks for something and looks to set up, and then we look for dive after that.
So walk me through, speaking of Gibraltar, walk me through a little bit the end of it, because like what we saw on stream was that like Rack was getting go by like 3 people, and then we turned back to cart and it's just Tree and Mikey like 2v5ing. What were the comms going like throughout that like end of that map of Gibraltar?
Wow. I knew I had primal and I knew I could like get a kill, and I don't know. I knew it was like winnable, so I just kept calling that, and then me and Tree were just on the same target, dominating the team.
Yeah, I think once we killed the healers, we were like, oh yeah, we're just winning this. We started kind of laughing, just having a good time. I stuck their monkey out of prime. I'm like, oh yeah, it's over.
Well, we even saw some lovely, crosswords there a little bit, with the pulse bomb, and it happens. So we see the little bit of communication as well. But let's piggyback even further than how it felt in comms at that moment. But this final moment, where even before we just started to be live here in this interview, it was the 3 of you. It was Luke Mino, it was Tree, and it was Mikey. How was that moment right there? Like, did you actually truly feel that you could turn that back, just playing this really just patient game, looking to see if you can recontest as a 5?
I don't know if the stream saw, but like I saw their Ana. I was like flanking behind them after my entire team died, and I just saw their Ana hard scoping, so I just one clipped him, and then like we pretty much snowballed from there. Because like if you kill the Ana in this game, it's like so broken because you just have no heals and you win.
Yeah.
So kind of like a last question for both of you. Do you think you're ever gonna get the Odyssey name, or like what's the deal there?
Oh no, it's not happening. Nope.
It's never happened. Okay, all right. Team Burrito.
Come on, Madness.
Team Burrito for life. Team Burrito for life. The better question is, okay, so I got to ask you, if you had a burrito, we'll start with Tree first. What level of hot sauce would you do? Would you do like a mild, a hot, a fiery, or a Diablo?
It's a true question. I don't eat burritos.
Well, that's
hot take.
Okay. Oh, it is only okay. Hot take. Okay,
Nah. Hot sauce ruins burritos. Just get Chipotle and just get like.
Let's go, Tree. Let's go. Let the people know.
Just get a default steak burrito from Chipotle.
There you go.
That's just all you need.
There you go. Double steak and call it a day. Well, we appreciate you both for having time with us today. It was a spectacular weekend. There were so many teams that participated, stellar competition, amazing players such as yourselves, and it's a really, really tremendous opportunity to have you participate in this and be able to put on a show for this Overwatch 2 outside of what we see as T1 for Overwatch League. So thank you so very much for your time. Celebrate the victory, my friends. It is very, very well deserved, and we cannot wait to see once it, is relinquished and opened up for everyone to have more lucrative competitive play. We can't wait to see you continue to play on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah.
What a day, Kenobi. What a day. We get all the way to map 5. We get a revenge match. Team Burrito wins it, and not even having to go to map 5. I mean, couldn't ask for anything better.
Hey, we got some darn good Overwatch, I would say.
Yeah.
Not only today, but like yesterday as well. There were a lot of good series that were cast. We had some really great players, really great teams that I can't wait to see going further into Overwatch 2. Yes, the beta unfortunately will be over as of tomorrow, but hey, you just got something to look forward to now. Look forward to another beta. Whenever that comes out, whenever we get to see these teams fight it out again, this tourney has been absolutely fantastic, and I mean, I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, I can't wait either. And before we even depart for the evening, we do have to, first of all, thank everybody that's been a part of this. We have to thank production. We have to thank every one of our other casters. And most importantly, as you can see right here entering the center of this, we have to thank the man, the myth, the legend, Natter, who has been able to put on such an amazing broadcast, community, just tournament, everything about it. A long time, a lot of us have, and it is a pleasure to be able to be a part of this amazing weekend event.
I honestly not thank, like, you should just thank me. Thank you, thank all my staff, and like, you guys were awesome. It was like a pleasure to watch you guys cast. Like, it was just so much fun. I'm definitely gonna have to do this again. So thank you guys.
Looking forward to it. So is there any well, I was gonna say, yeah, go ahead, Kenobi.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, this was an awesome training. I loved casting it. This was like, I mean, Overwatch 2 seems like it's a really fun game, and it was all phenomenal. Production was great. You mentioned it, the staff, everyone that I've worked with here, absolutely phenomenal. So again, thank you everyone for watching. It's been awesome. I've loved it.
And so, Natter, with us closing it out, we have the luxury and the privilege of having you here. you have any parting words for all those that are tuning in? For all those sponsors that have been kind enough to be a part.
Yeah. So I'll just do a few thanks to a lot of people. I have to thank the sponsors. There's quite a few. They were all super generous and they were really helpful. Rank Up, Team Unlimited, Serenity, Dramatic Gaming, Beyond Ranked, Hour Zero, Jenghua, Questline Esports, Bite Ramen, obviously. A lot of you guys know Bite Ramen, Shampria, and Esports Tower. So a massive thank you to all of them. They really helped make this, work. This was a pretty big event. We didn't have a lot of time. We did this pretty much in about a week and a half because beta wasn't even that long. And all the production, all of VPL, partnering with them, amazing. They were just amazing to work with, super easy. Solomon is just, he's so good at what he does, and all the casters too. I have to thank my attorney admin staff, Raven, Burrito, Vague, and Kay. This is the biggest tournament I think I've ever done. Fun fact, Raven did not think we were gonna get 32 teams, let alone 128 teams. They thought we would only get 32. So it just to told you so to Raven that, I know we can get 64. I didn't know we'd get 128. It blew my mind that I was just wow, this is amazing. But massive shout out to my attorney admin staff. They worked a lot. They made separate team sheets for every single team. So whoever got casted, the casters would have sheets and stats and fun facts and everything ready. And my media team as well, Spire, Lag, Perps, and Master Dempsey. And honestly, the last thing is probably the community. You guys are honestly awesome. A lot of people helped with the crowdfunding, supporting and watching, and honestly just playing in it. And so that was amazing. And the last thing I gotta mention is Razor's mom and Carter. They put their wallets and hearts together to help out the prize pool through crowdfunding. So thank you, Razor's mom and Carter. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys really enjoyed. I'll definitely be looking to do more in the future. And there'll be definitely some more announcements on stuff. I'm gonna keep trying to, keep busy and active. And I really love the Overwatch community, so I'm gonna try and do a lot more events. So thank you guys for supporting, and thank you to all my staff and people who helped out with the event. Thank you.